Activision is suing Anthony Fantano for misusing IP laws by demanding payment for their TikTok use of his viral Enough Slices audio.
That's a music reviewer, right? Like he's
Yes.
like a YouTube guy.
Yeah. So he asked Activision. Activision made a TikTok using his "It's Enough Slices" audio, and he's asking Activision for payment, and so Activision are suing him.
What?
So
that can happen?
Can it? I don't know.
This is why TikTok was a mistake, everyone.
I mean, there are many reasons.
This has been the thing. All it takes is one. All it takes is one person to poop in the bed, and here we are.
But who's pooping in the bed? Is it Activision pooping in the bed, or is it Anthony
That's
Fantano
the thing.
pooping in the bed?
We don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know.
It's Bobby
and
Kotick.
you know what?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all.
He looks
just
like a bed
say
pooper.
It's Bobby Kotick.
He does have the look of a bed pooper.
What are
Wow.
Is this the podcast? Hey, everybody.
Oh, I don't
welcome
know.
to Friends
the
Per Second.
podcast. No, that was it. This is it.
I
Welcome
had
to
a
Friends
cold
Per
open
Second.
planned if we don't want to go with that one.
That was
It's-
excellent.
I thought
No,
that
we're
was
here.
that's
I think
that's
we're good.
the
We're
one.
rolling with it. Let's
We're in
go.
it. This is Friends Per
Okay,
Second.
let's go.
We're here. This is-
Okay, let's go.
what is that you guys keep saying? I don't even know what that is.
Okay. Jake, when you were doing tech, I sent Lucy a video. It's in our chat. It's like this. I want to say it's like Swedish. This guy and this kid.
Yeah.
And they're just like watching model trains and there's techno music playing and they're just doing, like that early 2000s, like, yo, welcome to the station.
Yeah.
Like I'm DJ Roselle, like that kind of thing. It's that, but it's just this guy and this kid, and they're commenting that over watching model trains and stuff. And at one point, the kid just goes, "Okay, let's go."
But
it's
just
like really,
so very delicately, and there's
very
a reverb.
delicate and subtle. We're gonna put that in the show notes. And Stu, if you feel ambitious, I allow you to just show that 1 second clip. But this is not my channel. This is Ralph's.
Then we'll get sued by TikTok because it went viral on TikTok
And
last
then
year.
that's the
is
circle.
complete.
That's the circle. Friends Per Second. Jake, take it away.
Hey, this is Friends Per Second, episode 26. We're here. Can you believe it? We're in the continued arc of things kind of in flux. Last week, we didn't have Jirard. Jirard was here. Were you here last week?
I was here last week.
You
We
were
didn't
here.
have you.
I wasn't.
You were not here.
I wasn't.
And now Ralph
Yeah.
is on vacation.
Yeah. So
He's with his family,
Good for him.
and he put us in charge. He messed up, putting us in charge with him gone. We take no responsibility for the pooping bed of Bobby Kotick. You know what I mean?
Dad's out. He's left $20 on the kitchen counter for pizza,
Yep.
and we will then get sued.
the hounds are in charge of the asylum. Or
The
something.
hounds?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. So pardon my dust though. If I look like I'm at like a haunted cabin or my video quality isn't great, I'm still in the process of moving. I don't have a desk yet, so bear with me. You guys look great. So there's
Why?
that.
Thank you.
You guys feeling good? You feeling fresh?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
I certainly am.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Lucy, how are you feeling?
I am feeling okay. I've come back from Comic-Con and it's very busy, but I like that. I like being busy, but it just feels like I don't really have a moment to catch my breath, I guess. However, by the time this episode is up, I'm going to see a magician this weekend, guys, and I'm very excited about it.
That's cool.
What's your favorite kind of magic trick? Is it cards? Is it
hold your breath for
deception?
400 hours, or get eaten by a tiger, or
I'm not really ever. I wouldn't call myself a magic fan. My favorite thing to do with magic is the prestige.
That's cool.
You know,
with the bloody double?
but what knot did he tie? Anyway, so we've been to see this magician before a couple years ago. And my buddy is in town from the UK, and we're trying to think of something to do. Like Alcatraz was fully booked. So we're taking him to the #1 rated magician in San Francisco. And he's so good. He's a mentalist. So he does all that kind of weird stuff that makes you kind of want to throw holy water on him because he must be a demon because he knows things that he
I
should.
see.
But he's very good. That's my weekend.
We're free from a serial killer in my local area. They finally caught him after like
That's great.
15 years. The whole community is rejoicing because allegedly the local serial killer has been caught. It's pretty cool.
Jake, hold on, Jake. Can I have one question?
Yeah.
Didn't you just move to this new neighborhood?
Yeah, did this not come up in any Googles?
Oh, well, it's like the whole surrounding Long Island area. Like we're
okay.
a large
Okay.
community. Yeah.
Okay.
Congratulations, Jake. You bought a home and they caught the local serial killer.
Property value goes up, baby.
Oh my god. It's like living in a Whole Foods catchment area, like the property value. You know, you're in 5 miles of Whole Foods.
But
you
with
probably
serial
always
killer
go
success rates. Yeah, so that's good. The Gilgo Beach killer seemingly has maybe been caught. He still has to be like, innocent until proven guilty. But yeah, it's been a wild like decade or so. So it's pretty cool. It's just weird shit in our community. Yeah. But you'll probably hear about it on Netflix. So if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Look, with the strike, they need to make a lot of unscripted content real quick.
Exactly.
So for those of you who like murder mysteries and documentaries and whatnot, and even weird shows like Love Island or whatever, prepare because the flood is coming.
So we should talk about video games at some point. But so I have a group of friends and we watch trash TV together, and one of them sent a new candidate for trash that we want to watch. It's called Deep Fake Love. It's on Netflix.
Oh, yes.
To win a big cash prize, 10 participants must guess whether their partner cheated or if they're being shown footage manipulated with deepfake technology.
Oh,
no. My God.
That's
worse than I thought it was going to be.
Not.
That's awful.
X, I am not. I refuse. No way, dude. No. Yep. Can you imagine? Scripted or not, imagine the ramifications of not trusting your partner enough that you're gonna watch a show that has, even if it's like, what is the prize? If they did it, you get $1 million. Great, and then my relationship is over. Like, what? Who wins?
Oh, no. But also, like,
who wins?
I'm sorry. What are you deep faking? Because I'm pretty sure deep fakes are not good enough to have like kissing, right? Because then you've got one person's face and another. I hope they're not that good.
Look, they made Harrison Ford look significantly younger in the new Dial of Destiny Indiana Jones movie, and he looked weird when he moved. When he was not moving, he was fine. And that's Disney and ILM and Lucas. Like, if they can't make Harrison Ford look exactly as he was when he was a child doing Indiana Jones, you mean to tell me you're gonna make that show work on Netflix and make it believable? No way. I'm out.
I will watch at least one episode and report back. But then again, I'm the type of person, I've been watching Is It Cake? And I was like, damn, some of those cakes are really good. And but I was like, I feel like I could tell if it is cake. And then I was watching it, I didn't realize that they put the judges like 30 feet away. So there's no way they can see if that is cake or not. They're just like, what? I haven't got my binoculars to check if this is cake. Anyway, Netflix, fine purveyor of TV shows, movies, and video games.
So speaking of the writers and actors strike, you guys both went to San Diego Comic-Con, which was seemingly absent of a lot of the usual pomp and circumstance because of what's going on. So what was Jirard, like, what was it like? How was Comic-Con this year?
Well, I'll let Lucy go first because I went only on the last day. So I felt like all of the good stuff, the good announcements, the good reveals, whatever you want to call them, already happened throughout the weekend. So I'd love to hear what Lucy experienced, if at all anything.
So it also was my first ever Comic-Con, my first ever San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, wow.
I've been to New York before, and I've been to like the London. I don't know if they are technically still Comic-Con branded. I think they were for a while. They were like MCN, whatever. So this is my first ever San Diego Comic-Con, and it was a very weird show. It was fun. I had a good time, but for me, and I'm sure you two can relate, going to a show as a member of the games media, whatever it is we are called, you expect to be in back-to-back appointments, getting stuff done, getting stuff uploaded. You are so busy. You don't have downtime. And I was just kind of amazed at this show because I would book things and it would be a photo opportunity an activation. And I was like, what coverage is that though? And it was cool. Like I saw some really cool things, but also a very privileged position as press. I had a press badge that I didn't have to queue for anything, really.
Wow.
And there were some things that that I had done and people would queue 4 hours for. And I was like, man, in a year like this one too, it is crazy that the lines were still so big. But otherwise, in terms of gaming stuff, did get to speak to Ed Boon and Kelly Hu. So Kelly Hu is in the new Mortal Kombat. She's also in a bunch of other Mortal Kombats. And for me, I was like, I'm supporting the strike. I'm not going to ask her anything. But in my head, I was like, oh my God, she was in Martial Law, which is a great show that I loved from the 90s. Also, Lady Deathstrike from X-Men 2.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she was so nice as well, because we had to wait outside for about 10-15 minutes because we had Jamie Lee Curtis in there talking about her new graphic novel. So
Mother Nature, let's go.
What a woman, by the way. Very, very briefly met her, but she just has such a cool energy. She came in, she was such a laugh, she was very game for everything. So yeah, like had those interviews. We did Star Wars Outlaws. And then went to their panel, which was really cool. I wish I had more time to go to panels. The only ones I went to were the ones that Tam did with Stern Pinball and Marvel for the Venom Machine. The one that our friend Chastity moderated, which was Star Wars Outlaws. She used to work at GameSpot, and then she's at Ubisoft now. And obviously the one that I moderated, which was wild for a first Comic-Con experience. I got to moderate a panel for EA and Immortals of Avium. So very strange show, very fun. I had a good time, but it also, like, I don't know about you, but I don't have the stamina for a 5-day convention anymore.
Because you had preview day and then you had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's not just plus travel, plus settling and all that stuff. So it's not just like you zip on over and suddenly it's great.
Yeah. Well, Chastity was saying that the first... she said that the show floor was busier than usual because there was nothing really happening at Hall H.
There were no panels. They had most of the stuff they had there. So I went on Sunday, and I only came for Sunday because I got invited by a friend of mine through a game company to come and check out the show floor. So I went last year to Comic-Con because I got to debut episode 1 of God of Work in front of a live audience. So that was really cool. So to return to Comic-Con in like not an official capacity this year was different and weird because you're used to having your badges that just let you go everywhere. This year that wasn't the case for me. So I just kind of walked around. I tried to visit friends that I knew were at the show, and that was a mistake just because I forgot that a lot of the friends I was trying to see were like celebrities and comic book enthusiasts and stuff. So like I was trying to hang out with Brian Lee O'Malley, creator of Scott Pilgrim. He's a friend of mine, and we have been trying to like sync up for the last couple of years because of COVID. And so I was like, yeah, I'll just walk over to his like signing session and say hello. Like, no big deal. And I don't know why I thought that was acceptable. And so I just like I walked over there, and there were so many people in line. And I was like, hey, Brian, what's up? Like, I tried to get his attention. I was like, what am I doing? There's a line to see Brian Lee O'Malley. Like, my brain is not working.
You're like, so I know him. I know him. They're like, sure you do.
I know him.
I just wanted to say hello. Yeah. And then, because I guess I had a long week, so I just wasn't thinking properly. And so I was like, whatever, that's fine. And so I just shot him a text and was like, hey, man, I wanted to come by and say hi, but you were slammed. He's like, oh, we'll grab drinks next week. And I'm like, all right, cool. But then I did the same thing with Jamie Lee Curtis, because I know Jamie Lee Curtis. She was not at Comic-Con when I arrived, but they had this huge banner with her face on it. And I went to her booth and was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a copy of Mother Nature. I don't know. Did you talk to her about Mother Nature at all, Lucy? Or do you know anything about it?
I wasn't doing the interview.
Oh, okay.
I was outside chatting with Ed Boon and Kelly Hu.
So Jamie she partnered with a bunch of people to make Mother Nature a graphic novel. She wanted to originally make it a film. And so that's kind of how it adapted. And so I've known about it for quite some time because she's always, when she visits the office. Full disclosure, for everyone wondering why I know Jamie Lee Curtis, her daughter works for me, and she's working for me for many, many, many years. So Jamie's like a second mom to me. So I walked over to the booth to like try and buy a copy of Mother Nature, and the people behind the booth were so weirded out by me because I, have a weird homeless aesthetic sometimes when I go somewhere,
I have a picture of you from there. You looked great. You were wearing like a jacket and everything.
I always try and look like the professional Jirard jacket gamer guy, but like
jacket gamer guy
jacket gamer guy compared to Comic-Con attendee, sometimes from far away, if you, just like, is it cake or not? You can't tell, is it homeless or not? And so, I went over to Jamie Lee Curtis's booth to like say hello and buy a book. And the way that I was just being so like nonchalant about it really it made it very yeah, they were like, I was like, hey, is Jamie here? And they're like, no, she's not. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, is she gone for the day? And they were like,
oh, are you gonna murder her or like what's your plan?
I was like, no, it's not like that. Can I buy a copy of the book? And they were like, we're sold out. And I was like, oh, damn. All right, well, thanks. And they were like, anything else? And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So that was like the two weird interactions I had at Comic-Con because I'm a weird dude. And then I just walked the show floor. A lot of Funko Pop stuff. A lot of Blockbuster. They had there was two Blockbuster exhibits.
Blockbusters on the show floor. Yeah.
One was Lego Blockbuster.
Oh, that was cool. I did a booth tour video of that, and they made Lego covers of VHS tapes. So they had a Lord of the Rings one and they recreated the front cover of Fellowship of the Ring. I tried to steal it, but it was glued down. Whatever, Lego. I don't care.
Sounds like you care, Lucy.
Didn't want it anyway. No.
So it's cool that it did end up that way. Like there was more focus on like the toys and the comic aspect of it, right? I mean, I've never been to San Diego, but I've been to New York Comic-Con, and there's a whole massive wing of artists and comic book writers and creators, and I like that. So it's like you even have the high level, like Jamie Lee Curtis, but it's about her graphic novel. So it's kind of nice that it's almost like going back to nature,
Yeah,
the
nature's
comics.
back. The comics are taking over again. Yeah, Artist Alley, it was the one place where you just couldn't get anywhere fast. And it was for good reason. Yeah, because there was some amazing stuff on show. But I will say very quickly, the coolest thing I saw at San Diego Comic-Con, first of all, I saw, the guy who is, he plays Polka Dot in the Polka Dot guy in Suicide Squad. He's in Blade Runner. Saw him randomly.
That's cool. David
Dalmatian. Yeah. Dalmatian. Saw him. I saw British comedian Michael McIntyre, which was very weird for me and Tam. We were like, what the hell? I think you should leave. But the coolest thing I saw was a board game, an AR board game. And this is the only, so we booked the appointment because it's Batman. Okay. Tam and I was like, Tam, obviously big Bat fan. I'm an enjoyer of the Batman. It's Harley Quinn, and the box opens up and she's back at Arkham Asylum as a doctor, and you go through and every like new puzzle, whatever, is in a case file in an envelope, and you pull it out and you basically build Gotham with like card, and then you scan it with a phone or like a tablet, and it has AR. So you're completing puzzles, and then you have like this AR overlay to like, find graffiti or something, or find items in the Gotham that you've built. And I was already like, oh, this is super cool. Turns out the people who made it, one of them designed the Indiana Jones ride.
Oh, wow.
Like legit this person at this company is like very high up, was an Imagineer. And then I was like, okay, that's cool. What other AR stuff have you done? They did the Batman Why So Serious thing from The Dark Knight. But crucially for me, they did the 9 Inch Nails Year Zero ARG, which is like the one that's gone down in history. And I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, that was really cool. I should find the name of it because I had such a good time. Like, we were just messing around with it, and some of the puzzles were really cool.
Is it just you like exploring the Batman fun stuff, or is the idea you are Batman putting together these clues?
No, you are Harley Quinn.
Yeah, okay.
It's called
cool.
Oh, hell. I can't spell the board game, that's why. It's by... Sorry. Wow, there are so many Batman board games.
Oh, yeah, I'm not surprised.
Oh, yeah, I just searched it and I didn't...
Yeah, that did not help me out at all. Oh, here it goes. Harley Quinn. Oh, that's it. Arkham Files, Panic, and Gotham City.
Arkham Files, Panic in Gotham City.
So I was like not prepared to see an AR game like that, but it was really cool.
Yeah, because I mean, I take it you're not usually like running to go check out the hottest new AR thing.
Well, we don't really cover board games much on GameSpot or Giant Bomb. But I'm really glad we took that appointment. We're getting one to the office, so Tam and I at least will play. But that was really cool. And then otherwise, you know, like there was Street Fighter, there was like hands-on for that. We interviewed Harada for Tekken and Michael Murray. Well, Tam did. I just stood there because I was like, I'm not the fighting game person. We
hung out with Harada at his birthday at Summer Games Fest.
Oh yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was good.
To Harada's birthday.
Happy birthday to Harada-san.
Yeah, we just and those beefy boys.
Those beefy boys.
We had so Fandom had a party, which was awesome, and they had a K-pop band playing, and it was a big deal, and it was really fun. That was kind of a side of things I've never seen before, like a big Comic-Con party, because Entertainment Weekly cancelled. IGN's still happened, so I went to that as well. And that was really fun. It was just nice to have everyone kind of in the same place. Kind of how you feel around Summer Game Fest, E3, Game Awards, like folks in town who you just don't see. But yeah, it was a fun but weird show. I had a good time.
It's a good review.
That's all that matters. If you had fun, that's where it's at.
The one thing I'm disappointed in is that there was a Peanuts activation because it's 50 years since Camp Snoopy.
Like Charlie Brown, that piece of shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me.
How could you?
Sorry. Do you hate Charlie Brown?
Yeah,
no,
I got like a
you
weird
hate Charlie
thing
Brown?
Yeah, I got a big problem with that guy. I like that he has like seemingly crippling anxiety. That's
he does.
That's pretty relatable.
He's a depressed little boy.
And like nobody really likes him, and I like that. But I just never got into that stuff, except for the music. All the music is like top tier bangers.
The
I just
Vince
don't get the show.
Trio.
Yes.
You know,
hell yeah.
You should watch the new movie is actually really good from a few years ago.
Is that the one where Al Roker like dressed up like him or something? Was that a hallucination? That's a thing.
Maybe?
That is a thing.
That is a thing. I don't know why that popped in my head first. I apologize.
I'm googling.
Yo, I'm about to make you guys depressed. Yo, Jake, I think you would love this play. That is an unofficial play. It came out in 2004, in August 2004. It is called Dog Sees God, Confessions of a Teenage Blockhead. And it is about how all of the Peanuts gang has grown up. Snoopy is dead. And all of the Peanuts are trying to help Charlie Brown deal with the grief of Snoopy being gone.
Oh, no. I'm reading this. Oh,
no. It is dark. It is very dark. It is I love it because it's this weird artistic expression type it's so good.
That is perfect.
It's uncomfortable because it does things like it has drug use and abuse and suicide. It's like a huge like real adult piece about the Peanuts, and I feel like you would love that, Jake, because it's so weird.
I absolutely would. Incredible.
So in a similar vein, I'm really don't come at me. This is weird. So
we're getting weird this episode. Without Ralph, we're weird. James
Gunn years ago made a series called Peanuts without the T, and it was a suitable for work porn parody of Peanuts.
Okay, I like that.
I think it's still on YouTube.
That's creative.
But I remember my friend and I watching that and being like, "Oh, we're so subversive."
I don't like it because they're kids.
Well, yeah, I think they aged them up. Obviously.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
then we're good.
Then played by adults.
Gotcha. Okay, we're good then.
Performing adults.
Sure. Okay, we're good then. We're good.
Anyway, so that was the one thing I was sad to miss at Comic-Con.
You know what? That's actually a great transitioning point because next up we have a special interview. I feel I was trying to bridge the gap between weird sex thing into another weird sex thing, which is about bear sex. You know, because
I thought you were doing the sad about missing out is because we know that Ralph is sad about missing out about this one.
that's true. Either
So
way,
that
I think
works
both work.
Yeah.
Both work.
So believe it or not, we actually have Swen Vincke from Larian for Baldur's Gate 3. He's the director of Baldur's Gate 3, one of the founders of Larian, the legendary developers at this point from I feel like I'm still playing Divinity Original Sin 2. So Baldur's Gate 3, there's a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. So, Swen, thank you for being here. You're like at the finish line at this point. The game is launching very soon. So, how are you and the team feeling about it?
Dealing with some last minute crisis, so slightly busy, but in general, okay.
Yeah, because I mean, how are you feeling about the upcoming sort of, getting out into the world, but sort of the final definitive review sort of side of things? Because you've had a couple of years of early access, you've got an incredibly positive reception on Steam already, you've already got the community built around the game. Does releasing it out fully change how you feel about the project?
Yeah, we are. We're very nervous because we've been sitting on this for a very long time, and people haven't seen what comes after early access. So they know what's in early access. Well, they know part of what's in early access because we changed a bunch of things. But there's a lot of stuff that comes after, and so they're about to discover it, and we'll see what they think. We don't know, so it's very exciting but very scary also at the same time.
Is it not going to be kind of weird because review embargo is, the game comes out on the 3rd, and then reviewers aren't going to get the game until pretty late, so you're not going to get that definitive. You're not going to wake up and refresh that Metacritic page.
No, we had the same thing with DOS 2 also. DOS 2 was also late. I mean, these are very big games, and we are the company that tends to do last minute changes, as we did. So that's the price that we pay for it. But it's okay. To be fair, what it leads to is refreshing continuously over a couple of weeks, which is horrible actually. But it's the price to pay for it. I remember with DOS 2 it was the same thing. We were just refreshing continuously. It was horrible.
Was early access like a good pat on the back, or was it more of all right, we have a lot more to do? Because I remember when early access first dropped, the response was very positive.
Well, I mean, it was positive, but it was also critical. People were appreciative of what was there, but they also said, well, we don't like this, we don't like this, we don't like this. And that was a very, very, very long list. And so it's the benefit of early access is that you get some guidance from your community. We like this, we don't like this is not engaging, this is engaging. But then you have to act upon it. So you actually do get a lot of work out of it also. So it took us quite some time to figure things out. We also, at some points, actually went in the wrong direction. We were doing things that we saw that the community didn't really like that much. So we had to do some course correction. But at the same time, I prefer doing that during an early access period than having to do that after a release. So in that sense, I feel fairly confident that the direction at least is the right one.
How do you know which voices in the community to sort of listen to, and how, looking at anything on Twitter or X.com, it could be a vocal minority or it could be the general sentiment of the community?
Yeah, it's a combination of things, right? So, I mean, obviously you get a lot of voices. You have people that are very vocal indeed. But you also have analytics that are coming in. So we have a team that looks at it and says, well, a lot of people are saying this, but this is what we're seeing. So maybe you might rephrase or rethink that change that you're planning on doing. And then there's just our own feeling also. I mean, at the end of the day, we're very alike, our community, I think, in the type of games that we like to play. So if we like it in general, we see that people like it. Obviously, there's differences in tastes and opinions. But to get a general sense of where to go, I think we're in generally quite aligned. There are obviously exceptions. Like we thought we didn't have to put reactions in the game. The community was very vocal that we had to put reactions into the game. They were right, it turns out, in hindsight. We thought it was going to be annoying to be interrupted continuously, but it turned out that we could navigate that quite well. And then it actually led to better gameplay. So you have those things. But in general, I mean, like if you are already aligned with how your player community is thinking, because you like the same type of games, you can manage to navigate the entire trajectory.
Why do you think no one else has taken up the Baldur's Gate mantle in so long, given how massive it is, its impact on RPGs, pop culture?
You'd have to ask Wizards, actually. I know they were approached multiple times by other companies. We approached them back when we finished DOS 1. They said no then. But then while we were working on DOS 2, they suddenly contacted us again. And they said like, hey, remember that pitch that you did? We actually really like that. You still want to do it? And then from there came meetings and a year of negotiations. And then we got it to make BG3.
That's wild. A year of negotiations for something that they eventually approach you about.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the way of large corporations, right?
No. So I was going to ask, I mean, you talk about early access a little bit, but do you think it's a model that other large-scale AAA developers should and maybe will kind of adopt going forward? We've seen, obviously, games like Hades, even Obsidian with Grounded. Do you think it's going to become more popular, and do you think Larian are going to have a role in popularizing it?
Oh, I don't think Larian is just focusing on making its game. So, in terms of, I think it's a good model. I mean, like, it doesn't work for everything. You need to have games that are big enough or have enough content that is going to be fresh on release. And you can achieve that in many ways. It depends on your gameplay loop. But I think it's a good model. I mean, like, it gives you many benefits, right? So, if you're doing the right thing, because you have your community telling it to you. You get an idea of your popularity, so you know how to scale your resources in function of what's going to go into the game. You get an option of testing things. You can try IDs, see how players go with it. You get a lot of support from it. You have no idea how energizing it is for the team whenever we see the reaction to something that goes in a patch, and how frustrated they are if people don't like something. But it's really something that makes a developer tick. So all those things are really good. The downside, of course, is that you're doing releases continuously, but in that sense, it's not very different from a game as a service.
Is there a concern of, like, I don't know if it's on your side or if it's on the PR side of keeping momentum going, building excitement, or do you feel like you can really just stand behind your early access work and your community going forward? This
is the third time we do it. Every single time we got to the end of the cycle, and we always had the sense that definitely media says like, it's not new anymore, but the communities were waiting, and they're ultimately who we do it for, right? So they were there, and then people in general say, oh my god, there's a lot of interest in this, and then that picks up. So you see that every single time, at least in the 3 times that we've done it. So it's normal, because it's a long time, right? We've been 3 years in early access, a little bit longer than we wanted to be, like quite a bit longer than we wanted to be. So we talk a lot about our game. It's very focused on mechanics, like mechanic after mechanic, that it gets improved and established. But at the end of the day, for the people that didn't pay attention, when you look at what's there, you say, oh my god, there's so much that was done in all that time. And then it's all fresh and new. You see that now as the game is approaching release, a lot of people are picking it up. And so you're seeing them, wow, this is actually really a lot of fun. We had no idea compared to what it was 3 years ago. And that's the result of the early access work that's been going on. So in that sense, I think even if it may be hard to maintain the momentum, I still think it's not a bad thing, right? I mean, there's an old saying in any entertainment industry which says content is king. It will always be the case, and the rest will follow where the content is. So you just have to make sure the content is really good.
So I had a question about, I'm not sure if you saw this, but there was some discourse online a couple weeks ago after you had your panel from Hell, and there were a lot of game developers kind of saying, oh my god, it's going to set the new benchmark for RPGs, or at least a lot of fans were also saying that, and it kind of became a little moment online where people were discussing, the resources that Larian has, like the team behind it, and how it could potentially, Baldur's Gate 3 is not necessarily going to set the standard for RPGs because not everyone has the resources or the team. So I was just wondering what your take was on it. Like, where do you see Larian's position with the release of Baldur's Gate 3 and kind of the state of RPGs going forward?
To be fair, again, Larian's just focused on making its game. I mean, when I started out, Ubisoft launched Assassin's Creed, and everybody was saying everything is going to be like Assassin's Creed. You're all doomed. Nobody's going to be able to make this game anymore. Here we are, many years later, plenty of games exist. Assassin's Creed still exists. I mean, there were games like Assassin's Creed, but there's plenty of other things. So if you want to make something exactly like us, yeah, you're going to need a large team, but you don't have to make something exactly like us. There's so much stuff that you can do. When it comes to standards, standards change continuously. So it's not as if there's something that is a standard. So I don't think that is things people should be worried about, to be honest. When it comes to resources, I mean, well, if you talk about the likes of Microsoft or, well, Activision Blizzard is Microsoft now, and they are large companies, they have resources, they can do whatever they want. From a player point of view, I would come to expect that the platform holders at least set the standards, because that's how it usually has been in the past. They always say, hey, here's the guiding light. People, this is possible now, so go and do stuff with it. I mean, that's always been how I looked at platforms. So coming from there, that would be a bit of a strange statement, but in general, games like ours are something very specific. This is what we wanted to make. It's what we specialize in. So it's logical that we have a certain pedigree in creating it because we've been building this for 20 years already, right? Mm. So, but there's so much stuff out there that is different. And so I saw the discourse, obviously, but I didn't really understand why it was a discourse. Right. I don't think there's such a thing as a game that says, oh, this is the standard and everybody has to hold itself to it, because tomorrow somebody else will come up with something new and cool and that'll be now the new standard. And these standards change so rapidly that there's no standard.
Yeah, I was going to say, are you saying that Twitter discourse is nonsense that is used?
I don't know. I mean, it's like, we really try to make our game. So we were surprised when we saw that there was so much commotion about it. And it's just a weird thing. It's just, I don't understand. People haven't even seen the game, right? It's not out yet. So it's hard to say that it's a standard. It offers a lot, that's for sure. And it offers what we would like to see in RPGs. So I hope a lot of people will make games like ours, because that's what I want to play and the rest of my team wants to play. But there's a lot of other stuff that we want to play. So, I mean, like everybody played Disco Elysium, right? So that was made by a much smaller team than our team, and it was a great and fantastic game. So that's a standard now. But I'm a big fan of Into the Breach. That's a standard for me. So you got a whole bunch of standards out there. I mean, like my youngest son, the only game that exists in the universe is Minecraft. That's a standard for him. It's a big one. So.
Do you think it falls into the trap of, kind of when we see games following trends, like chasing trends, kind of live action trend, live service model kind of trends? Do you think it's just kind of the industry's reaction is to kind of, see the success of another and try and chase it for themselves?
These are big words, because the industry would mean that it's a homogeneous pool of developers, which it's not, right? Thank God. It's a very diverse pool of developers. So you will have always people that will follow others. We inspire ourselves in other games also. It makes sense that you will not reinvent the wheel if somebody just made a breakthrough. That's how evolution works, right? It's like you make as a developer, you set out to make a game. You have a certain vision of what you want to see, and you make it, and you just make it. It takes you many years to make these things, right? So you have no idea what's going to be popular X amount of years in the future. You hope that yours is going to be popular, obviously, because you're trying to make a living. But the idea that there's such a thing. Oh, now they've set a trend, so everybody has to follow in there. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, like. I would always try to make my game for what I'm trying to make, and that I think is going to be entertaining. And if I think it's entertaining, I think there will be an audience that will think it's entertaining, because I'm not that misaligned, I think, from a lot of players. So, and I think that goes for every single game. So I find it a weird discourse, just the entire standard thing. I mean, like especially now in a period, because I'm already been in this industry for quite some time. Back in the days, there you had a whole bunch of different games. Then suddenly it came a few types of games. And now with the advent of digital distribution, we have so many genres of games. So where's the standard in all these games? I mean, like again, I understand that if you have to make a business case for it, you're going to say, oh, it's like this or it's like that. It's always been the case. But I don't buy into this idea, oh, this is now the standard. This is how it should be. That doesn't exist. Not in video games or in movies, to be honest. Yeah.
You guys have been doing your own thing for a while now. with Divinity, like a lot of people assume now you guys are experts at these styles of games, but was there one specific very big challenge jumping from Divinity to something like Baldur's Gate?
There were two very big challenges for us. One obviously is expectations are sky high, so that's the big one. The other one is we wanted to do everything that we did before, but we wanted to make it cinematic. So system-driven cinematics, if you want. It's the thing that fueled our growth or required us to grow tremendously more than we expected. And to be able to do it, it's super challenging because we have to have cinematics of a gnome kissing a dragonborn or a dragonborn kissing a gnome. How do you handle that? These things are very different. So you have to be able to deal with that. And that's complicated when you start thinking about it. Where do you put the camera? Because I mean, like if you put it at a certain height, now suddenly the dragonborn is much higher. How do you deal with the hands touching each other? I mean, so you get all these things that you have to deal with. And it turned out to be really complicated, right? So when you're going to play BG3, hopefully you're going to discover that it's as if somebody's writing a screenplay for you and like tailors to your choices, decisions, the identity that you picked at the beginning of the game and how you develop during the game. And you will get a really good role-playing experience that is very cinematic that comes out of that. And that turned out to be super complicated. So that was a big challenge. I can tell you that. Especially because sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Especially because we wanted to marry it with multiplayer. So you had to be able to do that in multiplayer also. So it's multiplayer cinematics. And we wanted to convert the player handbook into something that was approachable in the video game medium. So we had to do all these things together, but still give you that cinematic experience. I think we achieved it. I was looking the other day at 2 endings. They were about quite long, actually, with a lot of reactivity to everything that happened in the game. It was like over 15 minutes of epilogue with things that were continually connected to one another. And they were all unique to what that player had done during their playthrough. And then I looked at another one and you saw that it was very different. And then I had the 3-minute one. And that was because that person had been very, very evil and done very, very, very many bad things. So there was not a lot of friends left to talk to. So there was, but there were different endings. And you felt like, okay, these are 3 different Netflix series. These are my Netflix series. That's what was created here for me. So I'm super proud of the team for achieving this. This is what we set out to do it. And they did it better than we actually hoped for originally. So I hope that's what the world is going to find out. But it's been very challenging to create as a game format.
You mentioned, obviously the game being reactive to the choices you've made. One of the things I was reading up about was the newspaper, which kind of chronicles your adventures. And you were saying that you can even go in and sort of change what's being printed if you want to. What other kind of small details like that can you expect to find or maybe are there something that's maybe a little bit less is off the beaten path a bit and that players will need to really dig into to discover?
There's a lot. Every single house, the mission was to make it interesting. So you can enter in a lot of houses in the playable areas of the city. So we wanted to have a little story every single time. Cities can be very boring if they're grindy. So you want to make sure that wherever you go, you're going to have an adventure. So the challenge for the designers was to make sure every single area actually has to have its own adventure. So the newspaper, the printing press, that has an entire adventure built into it, which means that ends up with you being able to manipulate the press to your own advantage, because the media is against you, and so you have to. There's a whole bunch of story angles to it, and so it's one of those things. If you don't go in there, you'll never see it. You'll just see newspaper boys that are selling newspapers on the streets, and they'll be telling you, here's the Baldur's Mouth, the Baldurian Gazette, and you will read in there things that have happened to you, things that are happening around you, things that may have happened, or things that you did, and then you can modify it, and it's just fun when you discover it. And like this, you have plenty of adventures. There's really a lot. You'll never see all of them in one playthrough. You'll never see all of them in several playthroughs. You really need to do a lot of playthroughs if you want to see everything. That was already the case in the early access content, actually.
How is the Xbox development coming along? I feel like a lot of people are looking for an update. Last time we left off, I think it was issues with the Series S and that Xbox was getting involved to help out. So where are things at?
So we actually technically haven't announced the Xbox officially. So that's like the weird thing where we are in that. Everybody assumed that we're making it, and I mean, like we are working on it. So we're making progress. I mean, the game has been heavily optimized since what was in early access. So every single one of those optimizations helps in making it go better. We have split screen and multiplayer. The combination of it is what makes it complicated. Because we don't run on a live service, we run the servers on your machine itself. So that means that you could have 4 consoles that have to work together and simulate where the 4 players are in different locations of the city, for instance, which is very complicated. Somebody can jump in and split screen. All that needs to be simulated. It takes a lot of memory. So it requires a lot of optimization to get it to work. The problem with optimizations is that you know where you start, you don't know where you went. You just know you get better after every single obstacle that you've defeated. There's a new one, and at some point you're there. And so it just takes us time to get there. Right now, all the focus is obviously on the PC and the PS5 coming out. But we're working. There's a team working on it, and so they're making progress. It is already a lot better than what it was. That's what I can say. Our hope is that we get it done this year. But I don't want to commit to it because, as I said, optimization comes with this annoying thing that you know where you start, but you don't know where you end.
I was reading some of the news stories about the Series S and Xbox development, and you said that you might have to make some compromises. And this is going to sound like a loaded question. I'm just genuinely interested in your opinion on it. With current gen consoles being what they are, in my head they are Series X and PlayStation 5. Do you think Microsoft having this kind of in-between model and then demanding that features be equal across both is kind of holding back development of games, and we're not truly going to get that next gen until Series S is left behind?
But they're not going to leave Series S behind.
But they're not going to.
They're not going to do that. So that basically means that you know what you're going to be able to do on the Xbox Series. I mean, it defines the machine, which is fine. I think it's an okay proposition to say, hey, we have 2 devices. We want compatibility across the devices. I mean, so it's a platform thing. What you have to do then as a developer or publisher is decide, will I be on the platform, yes or no? Because it's like us deciding to come to a Switch or not, right? Do we want to be on the Switch? Okay, we got to make it work on the Switch and make it work well. Otherwise, we can't be on the Switch. And like this, it goes for every single platform. So I don't think that's a choice they made, and they have valid reasons for it. I think the majority of people own a Series S, so it makes sense that if you come to Xbox, that it has to work on the Series S. Otherwise, you're not going to be serving the majority of people. So it'd be kind of silly to drop that. But at the same time, I understand. At the same time, it makes it challenging to develop it for that platform. And there's other platforms. Like when we did DOS 2, we did DOS 2 on PC. A year later, we did it on PS4. And then a year later, we did it on Switch. They've been working on that Switch version for a long time, right? Yeah. So, but it just took a lot of effort to get it there. But you have to do it. And so, yeah. For us, it was liberating that we forced ourselves into the situation that we're going to do a sim ship. Oh, we got to do a sim ship. We've never done a sim ship. Let's do a sim ship, right? And the sim ship almost became a sink ship in the sense that because it was killing us. So the moment we let it loose, we got more breathing room, so we can actually focus on the platforms as we should. And maybe that's just the model for us, right? Other developers do it differently. But now we can focus on PC, we can focus on PS5, we can focus on other platforms after that. And that's, for us, it's going to be better because if you look at all the releases we did in the past, we always try to make the most of whatever platform is there. Like if you look at the Switch, what was done by the team on DOS 2 was amazing. It was one of the first games that had Steam Cloud saves. It runs really well on a Switch. It was really, I was very proud of them, but it just takes time to make these things. Should you then let that version define when the other versions are available? That's a question that you have to make for yourself commercially. We chose not to do that. And so that's just it. But that doesn't say anything about the platform. I think the platform is perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. It's just like if you want to imagine that somebody comes out with like the equivalent of a PS7 now, right? Mm-hmm. And then you will have to make a choice. Will I release it on PS7? It means I can't release it on the others. Mm-hmm. So that's essentially what was going on. It's like and as a PC developer, which is what we were used to that. You have always had different platforms, min specs that scale. Like you have to say, these are your min specs. You're going to work on that. So anyway, I'm deviating. But to answer your question, We're going to get there. It's just going to take some time. Do I think that it holds it back? It just defines certain parameters within which you have to develop, and there's ways of doing that. It just takes development effort, and that effort, despite us having grown, we don't have infinite resources. So that means that we can't do everything at the same time.
So switching gears a little bit, our other host, Ralph, aka Skill Up, is not here, but he had some questions that he wanted us to ask, specifically involving bear sex.
It was all caps. It was all caps. Ask about the bear sex.
Yeah, we were like, relax, dude. But so we've read that you guys are working with an intimacy coordinator for scenes, which is kind of becoming like a standard. I know, like with filmmaking and stuff. So that's very cool. But how did that work with the bear scene?
So there was no actual bear. I mean, so
no bears were harmed.
No bears were harmed. It also, I mean, like, have you seen the full scene?
I've only seen what was in the clip, like from the panel. So
so you saw the squirrel there also, right?
Oh yeah. That was a fully mocap squirrel.
So there was no need for an intimacy coordinator on that particular scene because the squirrel covered everything up, and so there was no intimacy necessary. But to extrapolate on the bear scene, it was a good scene to pick to show the variety of romance that you can have, because what we showed before was just a couple going on a date and having a romantic conversation. And then we shifted to the bear because there we were dealing with a druid that lived for hundreds of years. His interests are different. He lived with animals. And it showed cinematics in action. It showed choice in action. We didn't know what the audience was going to pick. We had an inkling, but we weren't sure. And we could have gone in a completely different direction. People would have been surprised where that would have gone. It showed the breadth of the game. And it showed that it was done with taste. That's what I thought. And funny. So because it was a funny moment. So I thought that was a good pick to say, okay, well, here's some of the things you can expect to see in the game, because it's not the only thing. There's much more. So there's a lot of surprises like that will make you smile, that will engage you. So I think people are in for quite the ride.
Is it difficult picking? I mean, obviously with a game with such scope and scale, when you are picking what to show, how difficult is it to pick, okay, this is something that I know the audience will really like, it'll be really enticing, but also I wish I could talk about this. I mean, how's that process been across the 3 years?
Hard, because we want to talk about everything. Obviously, we're creators, so we want to show everything that we've been making. We're very proud, very, very, very proud. I think the best romance scenes have definitely not been shown because we want players to discover them for themselves, and then hopefully they'll talk about them. And they're very surprising. They're very, very, very cool. So it's hard not to talk about it, especially when you spend, like in our case, it's been 6 years that we've been working on this game, right? So it's very hard to hold it all for yourself. So it's why we're at the start of the interview, you asked me, how do we feel? So excited and nervous, excited for people to see it, nervous, what will they think? You don't know. We think it's cool. And I think people will think it's cool too. But it is... And so what do you pick? Well, you pick the stuff that you think will engage without showing too much. So that people are interested, but you don't want to reveal everything. So that's how you
Yeah. So, I mean, bear sex there, you mentioned, kind of the other romance scenes. Ralph's other question was, who else and what else can we have sex with?
For Ralph to discover. I mean, like, it depends on where he takes it. All right. So, I mean, like, it's, again, it's always about player choice. This game is not going to make you do anything against your wishes, but it's maybe gives you options that you didn't expect you were going to have. Because it is, first and foremost, it's trying to be a role-playing game that respects what you want and tries to give you a really good adventure in function of the things that you decide to do, just like a dungeon master would do at a tabletop, because that's essentially what this game is offering. It's a mature game, so that allows it to do some crazy stuff also. And so there you go. So that's what you get.
How do you keep those relationships meaningful? Is it all in the writing, or is there something else to it?
It's the mix of things. It's the entirety of the development team that makes it interesting. It goes from the systems design to the cinematics to the writing, the sound, the visuals, everything that goes with it. So when you'll play it, you'll find that the characters change in function. There's a character that is going to change their hairdo in function of how they're feeling about what's happening inside of the game, and it's very meaningful at that moment when it happens. And you see that they're struggling heavily as a result of it. It's a very real thing, but it's the sum of the visuals, of the animation, the way that she starts talking. Everything changes about the character in function of a very big event that happens in their life inside of the game, and it was player driven. It's the player that guided them there because they did something or they didn't do something. And so that is much more than just the writing. It's the sum of all of the creation and the craftsmanship of the team that's been working on it.
About a year or so ago, you came and did a video with us at Gamespot, and you were talking about, we called the video "The Box That Broke Baldur's Gate 3." And I'm so interested, talking to you about just how much there is in this game, how many different... I did think it was funny where, was it Michael posted oh no, they found the 17,000 number with your variations on the ending, that kind of thing. With so much in there, I should say that this video is all about, that the game was working fine, and then you had this one very specific item that had to be found. It was very crucial to the story, and just all of the different pathways to making sure that players found it. What are the stories, what were the other challenges about making sure that the players can actually follow sort of the golden path to finish the game? How do you even keep track of it all?
That's been the big challenge of this game. So that's the bit that we you see my hair is gray. That's where it comes. That's where it comes from. So this has been really complicated. We really wanted you to feel that your choices mattered much more than anything we've done before, and make that visual. And we wanted you to also have your agency coming through the systems that Dungeons and Dragons offers you, which is a game in which you can do, or a game system in which you can do so many things. And so every single time when something was done, it's what if I do this? What if I do that? What if I do this? And the general principle was let's not limit it. Let's figure out ways in which we can make it work. And so I showed that we did a press event not so long ago. And there was one, I picked a very small situation because I was so proud of the scripting and the writing team that were working on it. And actually all of the teams that were working on it, because it showed the depth of the game, but also how it came about. It was a genie who was cheating at a Wheel of Fortune. And whatever you do, you're going to lose. And this is going to be spoilery, so close your ears if you want to not hear the spoiler. If you succeed in a perception check, which is a thing that you can do in D&D, you see that there's a little glint in his beard. If you try to pickpocket him, you will discover that he has a ring of magic hand. And it's a magic hand that he's using, an invisible magic hand with which he is actually manipulating the Wheel of Fortune so that it always loses. So since it's D&D, you can steal the ring from him. So when you then talk to him again and he manipulates the wheel, says, well, shit, the wheel keeps on turning and you win the jackpot. And he says, you cheating bastard. And you say, well, you started it. And then as you say, he says, well, do you know what happens when you are cheating against a genie? And he turns you into a cheese wheel. And you're now you look like a cheese wheel, you run around and you're playing Pac-Man with the control. Is great, right? So and so the team just made a piece of Pac-Man in there. That's not the end of this story. It's a super small thing. You're only going to discover it if you succeed in that perception check, right? Once you succeed in perception check, obviously you might not think of trying to pickpocket the guy. This attitude, this philosophy has been applied to every single thing through the entire game. So they've just gone bananas on it. And a lot of these people that worked on it are dungeon masters. So they've been trying to create what they would do at their tabletop and then make it possible for you in the game. Obviously, they had limits, but you will see stuff like this a lot as you travel through the world of BG3. Making it all work within the main narrative has been quite complicated, right? So I think we reinvented a couple of things or discovered a couple of things in how to make that work. I think it works really well. You'll discover it for yourselves once again. So But I think if there's anything I would like people to remember BG3 for, then it will be that. The fact that you get all this freedom and it's told to you in a really cool cinematic manner at the same time. And you can play with your buddies as you're doing that. And that's just... I have another example. I don't know how much time I have. I can keep on talking about this game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Go for it. Yeah.
So we showed at the same press event. We did actually on the panel from Hell also. We showed a scene from two different perspectives. We showed it from the side of the bad guys and from the good guys. Right? It was literally the same scene, but you show a completely different experience of that scene. So depending on what your playthrough was going to be, you were going to see you on a caravan through a cursed land, headed by a Drider that is holding like this mysterious lantern. On the other side, you saw Harpers that were ambushing the Drider that was walking through the cursed lands. You could have been with the Harpers, you could have been with the Drider. You saw the dialogue rotate. If you would have made different choices, you would have seen that scene change again. So that's the beauty of all these things that have been put into it. Because as the team was making it, well, if I'm there, this is what the camera sees. If I'm there, this is what the camera sees. And so all of that has been implemented. And when you see it side by side, it's quite a thing. You realize exactly how much effort has been put into it, and how much love and passion that the team working on it has done. And you get this beautiful, unexpected, and unpredictable storyline that just says, you did that, this is what happens as a result of that, and just go and do it. And in the beginning you see people try to do everything. You're so used to max everything, then you just give up because you can't, it's too much, right? And then you start accepting it, and then you just go with it, right? And then you're having a lot of fun.
That leads to the big thing I'd like to leave off on is, with the game being so huge, what advice would you give to players jumping in if you were just sitting next to somebody on the couch who's jumping into it for the first time?
I would just trust the dice. Trust the dungeon master that he's going to make sure that you're going to have a good time. Like, you're going to get regardless of what's going to happen, you're going to find yourself on something that's going to be a lot of fun. Because there's a lot of dice rolling in the game. Dice rolling decides whether or not you're going to convince somebody, or if you're going to see something like that perception check that I just gave you as an example. Failure is sometimes more fun than success, because the storylines will pick up on the failure also. The team has been making sure that failure is as interesting as success is. So it's something to embrace. And so once you start doing that, if you trust the game has you. It has you. We've spent a lot of time making sure that it has you covered in all cases. And people have a hard time believing it until they experience it. Then they say, oh, wow, yeah, okay. And then you're off. And then the second piece of advice would do is, like, if you're curious about something, start exploring, because it rewards exploration tremendously. And that was already in early access, where you could discover an entire new world by just following up on very, very small things. Or never see it and then hear from other players and then go, what the hell? Is this in the game? That's fine too. It's okay. I mean, you don't have to see everything. It was not made for you to see everything. Just a fraction of it.
How many times do you think you've played through it now at this point?
Me? A lot. But I cheat. I cheat. But I've played a lot. I've seen every single line of script, multiple times. I've seen every single situation from every single possible angle, so I've seen a lot of it. That's why I can tell you all these things. I know it's big. I know what's in there. So it's genuine.
Well, we're really excited to jump in. Lucy, do you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, we'll let you get back to work. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Congrats to you and the team. Good luck on the launch, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much for doing this. Take care.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
So next up, we're kind of going to do, instead of a whole big breakout segment, since it's a weird news week these past 2 weeks, we just want to kind of dive into a couple little things. We had some things to say. The first is regarding Star Wars Outlaws and open world fatigue. So I think it was a week or so ago, I remember talking about this on the Friday show on Game Ranks. The developers went on record saying, like, yeah, there's going to be these planets and they're going to feel really big and they're going to feel like it's going to be a long time to traverse from one end of it to the other. Like, even when you're on a speeder, it's going to be really big. And now, more recently, I guess, like, they wanted to kind of follow up with that because according to the developers, Star Wars Outlaws won't be an unfinishable 300-hour RPG. They've managed to clarify that, because they originally compared it to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and people were like, "Oh my god!"
No, the original quote was, what was it? In an interview with Edge magazine, it's a crude analogy, but the size of one planet might be equivalent to 2 of the zones in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It could be 2 or 3 zones, but it's not this sort of epic, the whole of England recreated approach. So then, everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's too big. I'll never do it." That's what I did, because I also spoke to them at Comic-Con, and I asked about this too. And they were like, making sure that their focus is on making content that's meaningful, which is great for me, because I respect a lot of the things that Ubisoft has contributed to open world game design, but at the end of the day, I feel that at the same time, I don't ever approach a Ubisoft game and think, I will finish that. I will enjoy that.
Isn't that weird to like think about? Like, oh, what a delightful game. I will play exactly 20% of it. Yep. And then I'm done.
Like I really enjoyed Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I was like, British bias, because you were going to places, and I was like, oh, I don't know where that is. And I actually, I'm very glad that Mirage is going back to Assassin's Creed basics, but at the same time, I thought that they got the open world formula kind of right, or at least like the gameplay formulas right with Valhalla. And then I was just like, oh, well, no, I'm 36 hours in. This is me, guys. Because I was talking to Jordan Ramey, who reviewed it for us at GameSpot, and he's just like, oh yeah, then you go up here, and then you do that, and then there's the whole this stuff, and then there's the expansions. And I was like, no, that's I don't want that anymore. And it's weird, and I wonder how you guys feel about this, where it's like, what in your mind keeps you going with a huge game? What is the cutoff point that makes you walk away? Because it feels weird, because it's like, if it's checklisty stuff, which I think Ubisoft kind of defaults to a lot of the time, it's like, hey, go to this zone, do this amount of things, clear this watchtower, blah blah blah. That 10 years ago in Far Cry 3 absolutely did it for me. I was like, yeah, this is manageable. Is it because there's just way too much of it in general, or and it doesn't seem attainable, or is it something else where we're just we're looking for more meaningful experiences, a la, like a Witcher side quest?
Yeah, for me, it just has to have some meaningful aspect to it at all. Like it's definitely meaningful progression, number one. Like, I don't mind grinding if it's me getting something really cool and awesome that then helps me in my journey. Or on the flip side, meaningful in the sense that, like, all right, you're doing all these side quests, but you're getting something out of it. Like Ghost of Tsushima is a really good example, where every little side quest, I just liked that it was like a little relaxing tale, and you helped a villager, and then they like told you a poem or something. Like, that still managed to feel fulfilling just because it was like thoughtfully crafted. The amount
of bamboo I cut.
I did do a lot of that, but it was because like I wanted to get that stuff. I wanted to do it all, because like I think that world was like nicely sized still, all things considered. Or it's just, the third thing for me is, if I love the gameplay so much and I can't get enough of it, and I will continue to do that thing forever. Like, Assassin's Creed Odyssey's combat was good, but if it played more like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater or Batman Arkham, like, then I would do every single side quest and do every single thing on the map, just because I always want to continue to do that thing,
Oh, right. I was like, I would love it if an Assassin's Creed game played like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, that's like my default.
Yo, Stu, as our editor, don't tell Raph this. As our editor, every time that Jake brings up Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and any point, I need you. It's not a visual thing. Just play the Tony Hawk Pro Skater special. Bow, like you just did a special move sound. Yeah. Every time he brings it up, just play it for me if you remember. If not, no big deal. And the comments will roast you for forgetting. But either way,
that was who uses that? Nakey Jakey uses that in his videos.
Does he?
And as soon as the first time I heard him use that, I was like, shit. I was like, damn it, that's so good. Yeah, I'm like, that's so good.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I complete games, so I have to see everything, right? That's just what I have to do. I tend to do a lot of the Ubisoft games that do that stuff. I have, in the last probably 8 years, stopped playing Assassin's Creed games. I get paid to promote them a lot because my audience likes Assassin's Creed, but I just kind of been lackadaisical to completing them because they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't know. I maybe I'm in the minority, but I really liked the Desmond story of Assassin's Creed,
Hell
like the
yeah,
modern
dude.
day.
You are not.
I liked how it.
I'm with you.
I liked how it all connected, and then at the end of 3, it kind of felt like, and none of it mattered. And then 4 was like, hey, so you're a computer nerd that works at this company called Abstergo, and like there's VR and connecting and stuff, and like I was like, oh, okay, so they're gonna try it again. No, they just kind of, it just keeps getting sidebarred.
Yeah.
And
I liked that what they did with 4. I liked that a lot because it felt
I did
like
too.
a cool new take on it without just putting us in the shoes of another Desmond.
Right. And I feel like, and I think that the pull of it all was like, we have to just keep pumping out Assassin's Creed. It's printing money.
Yeah.
Keep going. But I feel like when it comes to this whole situation about like applying that to other games, right? Far Cry 3 was perfect.
Absolutely.
I enjoyed Far Cry 4, parts of it. Far Cry 5, I really enjoyed what it was supposed to be, but like you start to kind of see the paint on the walls and you're kind of like, hey, I think I'm going to be doing a lot of the same thing over and over and over again.
It's why, like, when we went to see the behind closed doors thing for Avatar, Jake, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, how I mean, first of all, you see the animation of ripping the alarm box thing, and I was like,
oh, it's the same one
yeah,
from Far Cry.
I mean, it looks very similar.
Where it's like,
Comment
rip
on it.
open the circuit
just,
breaker, shut it down, but it's like blue arms.
Yeah, like blue carbon steel or whatever it is. I was like, yeah, and it has the same loop, or at least the way they were describing it as the same loop of going to an outpost, liberating it, nature takes it back kind of thing. So I was like, does that feel meaningful to me at this point in 2023? Remains to be seen with regards to Avatar. But yeah, I mean, the thing with Star Wars, and I guess why, because it became a talking point, is because people want it to be a meaningful experience. But also, at the same time, you know, we're on the cusp of Starfield. And, you know, the marketing talking points are about how big it is, 1,000 planets. And yet that's a pro for them and a negative for Ubisoft now. So it is wild to see the way that the narrative has changed, because
it's a
Ubisoft for a long
double-edged sword.
time.
Great point. That's a great point.
It's tricky too, because it's like Star Wars is always about, I mean, like people will make fun of it. Star Wars is about the stories. But on the flip side, people also want to live in those Star Wars worlds. They want to spend a bunch of time in them. So that's where I feel like Outlaws has to kind of do like a balancing act, because at the very least with this newer quote, Julian Garrity, one of the leads, did say like, no, the main thing is still the progression of the main character's story. And they're still trying to like build a large open world around focusing and funneling that story. So I like hearing that. I still think it's kind of early. Like, you know, this all sounds good on paper. Like when we saw the game, I'm like, okay, let's see how that goes. I still didn't get a really good grip on it, but yeah.
I think at the end of the day, I think the ability to play, I don't know, make the game you want to make, team. If that's what you want to make, then make it. Just make it meaningful. Because if you're like, there's 3,000 collectibles, then that sucks. And that just extends experience for no reason. But if that's your vision, then that's your vision. What are we gonna do?
If they want to make a cool Star Wars story, put their stamp on Star Wars lore, do it. Because there are other open world, like you mentioned Starfield. Like Starfield is like a Skyrim or like anything else where you make a character and you go out and do whatever. And I've went on record saying this, like, I want to play Starfield and force it into a Star Wars game. Like, I'm going to play that and be like, I'm going to try and be a Han Solo and like see what the game does and how it reacts, you know?
Yeah, that would be really cool. But God, I mean, given how long they've spent on Starfield, maybe we'll see that in a good few years. You never know.
Yeah.
Well, along with that, we unfortunately have some negative news worth covering. At the time of recording this podcast, it was just announced that CD Projekt Red is announcing roughly 10% of the team due to overstaffing. That's a pretty big chunk of layoffs from a studio publisher that has been perceived as otherwise successful, even with the Cyberpunk missteps.
Yeah. It's wild. And it's, obviously the news is coming out now because we've got, they're on such a positive upturn, I think, in terms of like, there were a few layoffs a couple months ago with the Molasses Flood and the Gwent team. But yeah, obviously in the lead up to Phantom Liberty, you're not going to want news about layoffs. And so it sucks to see. I mean, like, all layoffs suck. Jesus. Yeah. I hate the world that we live in. I think, the way they've gone about it is kind of outlining it and saying why. So they've got Polaris, which is the new Witcher, Orion, which is the new Cyberpunk, Hadar, which is a new franchise. And then is that separate from Cyberpunk multiplayer? Does that still exist? Been a hot minute since we heard about that one. But yeah, losing 100 people on roughly 9% of the entire team. Some will be let go as late as Q1 2024. So imagine, that's the thing. So what, are you just supposed to sit with the anxiety that your position might not exist?
It's a freaking death sentence.
How do you keep people, this is a broader conversation on how layoffs are conducted anyway, but it's like, how are you supposed to keep people motivated if they know that they're on the chopping block? Like the way that Meta, for example, has been doing them, and just saying, we're going to do this many, but we won't tell you when.
Yeah, it just feels like a weird, unfair game, almost. Like.
Yeah, I think the hardest. I mean, what was the budget of Cyberpunk? Do we know?
Oh, no idea.
Million?
Million?
Yeah, let's go with $1 billion.
I mean, I remember when they announced that game, 2012, came out 10 years later. So, I mean, costs will be lower because of Poland. Sure. So, there's Lottie versus the dollar and the pound. But at the same time, are you offset because it's been in development for so long?
So, I mean, obviously this is just basic math. I'm not hammering it to the wall here, so I'm not a mathematician or an expert, but I mean, if I'm correct, the things say that it sold 20 million copies since 2023, September of 2022.
Yeah,
I imagine that it's sold more this year, given that there's more patches, the new DLC is about to come out, the updates. But if we're even doing $70, which is obviously not the full retail price for everyone, but it's just the average of what it's set at 20 million copies, that's like what, $1.4 billion?
Take off a third for storefronts.
Sure. Okay.
So Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. So unless you bought it through GOG, then that's you're already losing a considerable amount there.
You're right. So let's get rid of.
Yeah. But also, I mean, also Witcher 3 is one of the top 10 best-selling games of all time, right? Didn't they announce that pretty recently?
How many?
It's up there. It did just cross a milestone. I know. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, as of this year, 50 million units sold.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's the Wild Hunt.
Yeah, Wild Hunt alone, not even the other two. Damn. I mean, as well, the thing that I take away from this news story is that just you have the next Witcher, the next Cyberpunk, and a new franchise. You're culling 100 people. Those projects must be very far away.
And the fact that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but were there layoffs when Cyberpunk debuted?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think there was any. And if anything, they've turned it around and they've sold more copies.
Yeah, Edge Runners did a lot, and the consistent patches. They've left last gen behind, so they're not kind of, beholden to the tech limitations of PS4 and Xbox One. Yeah, it just kind of sucks. And it also, I don't know about you guys, but it puts the fear of God in everyone, because if a company as big as CDPR with all the stuff that we're saying, all the stuff in the world that we're saying, however many copies your game sold, no one is safe. And it is such a ridiculous, I don't know, capitalism. Scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, it sucks.
Yeah, it's hard out there, man.
It's never a fun time to see people let go in any industry.
And
But like, there are so many talented people there. I hope they. It sounds like so contrite after like the year that every industry seems to be going through. It's like, I
yeah,
hope they land on their feet. It's like, hope they do more than that. I hope they fucking thrive and find
Yeah.
something great. But yeah.
it's kind of a weird segue into the next thing, which is seemingly a canceled project. There was apparently going to be a sequel to Immortals Phoenix Rising, tackling a different era of like mythology, which seemed like it would be pretty
so
cool. And the news has kind of come out that it seems like that has been canceled, and that sucks. It's the way I think Ubisoft put out an official statement saying that they like reallocated things because of reasons. So hopefully it means nobody lost their job. But the other angle of this is like you spend a long time working on something, like years and years working on one creative project. And then if that baby doesn't see the light of day, that's also got to be pretty hard. That's something I can't imagine going through.
Oh, this will be up now, so I can talk about it. We had Sam Barlow in to talk about Immortality, and he was actually talking about, working for years on a Legacy of Kain game that ended up getting cancelled, and how the frustration that kind of comes with that. Like, it was announced, and then it fully got cancelled.
Did he work on Dead Sun or Black Cloth? Was the code name?
I think it was Dead Sun.
Cool.
But yeah, he kind of weirdly got inspiration for Immortality from some of that. Go watch audio logs; it's all in there. But yeah, Ubisoft. This is from. I'm reading a thing from Game Rant. Just doesn't even load on my PC, so I'm just gonna go somewhere else. If your website can't load it because of all the stuff on it, that's not great. Skull and Bones has been delayed for a 6th time, and they cancelled 3 unannounced video games. This was in January. So, and there's also, where the hell is Beyond Good and Evil 2? What is that game? I know they're working on the Splinter Cell reboot, remake. There's a bunch of Assassin's Creed titles going on.
The Prince of Persia remake was kind of shifted to a different studio, and now
that was
a ways away.
Yeah, but I mean that other Prince of Persia game, man, that's gonna be sick. January next year. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like a game gets announced for a multitude of reasons. Getting, hiring, getting, stock stuff. Tinfoil time, but I genuinely believe that's the only reason Beyond Good and Evil 2 ever got any kind of announcement, is because they were trying to offset Vivendi by bringing back a beloved franchise that no one turned up for. Like, Beyond Good and Evil is a beloved game, but I don't know if it has, the star power of any of their other franchises. Anyway, so they announce a game, and then it just goes away. So you have to kind of deal with the negative PR of that. Or, in this case, you don't announce a game, it gets cancelled, and then people find out anyway, and they're still bummed. There is no winning.
You kind of saw that too, right? With freaking Days Gone 2, right? Like, I think that was a game that came out to lukewarm reception. I was the one guy that loved that game.
Oh God, I thought you said Days Gone 2, and I was like, they made a sequel?
No, but
Days Gone, 2 is what you actually said. I'm not with it today.
No. In that there was going to be a sequel to Days Gone. There was going to be a sequel, but it was based off of the sales and reception of the game.
Right.
And because the sales and the reception of the game weren't, even though it was profitable by the end, and they did fix the majority of the stuff that people were experiencing, and there was a fan base there, I think that game had a 7-year production cycle of hell.
Yeah. Because it was Ben's first original IP.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because they worked on the Uncharted Vita game, and I think they had some other titles as well. But yeah, it's a shame, right? Because I liked Immortals Phoenix Rising. I liked Days Gone. I thought both games were great. I think that they came out at wrong times.
Because when was Days Gone?
Days Gone was 2018.
18?
18, I believe. Oh my god, we got Google. Let's just
Google it.
20 no, that's Steam. 2019. So it came out April 26, 2019.
And, yeah, and then Phoenix Rising was
during the pandemic.
2020. Yeah.
It was announced and released in the pandemic.
Damn.
I also there was so much potential for a sequel because I really liked Phoenix Rising. I definitely tried to I was like, yeah, no, this is actually good. I know we're like burnt out on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This isn't just the same thing. It's a totally different take. It's really cool. It handled that Greek mythology really well. But the fact that it seems like they were actually going to move on to a different mythology, like it was going for more of like a Polynesian thing, that could have been awesome. Like just their take on that, they could have went even crazier because that hasn't been done as much as Greek mythology. So to like get a glimpse of what we could have gotten just makes it hurt even more.
Yeah. That's the thing. Anyway, we've unintentionally picked like bummer news stories.
Damn.
Like
here we are, we're so happy. We're like, Dad's not home. We gotta have some fun. Let's talk about sad shit. Also, it's funny that we keep referring to Ralph like, Ralph, like, he's not in charge. This is a democracy.
Yeah.
It's true, but here's the thing.
It is his channel.
If we're on his YouTube channel, if you're on the podcast feed, you're right at home. But if you are on the YouTube channel, which a majority of you are, we have to respect Ralph and what he's built.
We don't have to respect him. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, you guys are his audience, and you know, without your guy here, we could potentially make you hate us. We could potentially hate his channel. There's a lot of power and responsibility here.
Yeah. Why is no one Australian? They clicked on the video. They're like, why isn't there an Austin or a Ralph? This is ridiculous.
Shout out to Austin, by the way.
He's been crushing it. Yeah. He's been crushing it on the new show and the reviews that he's been doing.
Yeah, he did the Exoprimal review. He's great. Yeah. He's like a perfect fit. Like they are just so on the same wavelength. It's perfect.
I'm ready to see the Skill Up brand expand, baby. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Team Ralph for
brand
life.
up. I don't know.
Brand up. Brand up. Oh, that dude. Jake, you're on fire, man.
Is that like this is the new phase up? Brand up.
brand up. Sideways heart for the beat. Brand.
Well, from the negative news to a positive, we did just get an announcement for new Castlevania on Netflix. This is for the end of September. It's Castlevania Nocturne, September 28th, and there's a teaser trailer that is out as of the time of you watching this or listening to this. And I think it's like Richter Belmont and stuff like that. I feel like now we're getting to the good shit. Let's go.
Did you both watch Castlevania? The whole
I didn't finish the last season.
Oh,
I did. I also did not finish the last season.
But I love the first season. Oh my god.
I need you both to end this call and go do it. Because
guys, that's the podcast. Thanks for watching. We're gonna go ahead and go watch the rest of Castlevania.
I was so worried that they were gonna not that they were gonna biff the landing, that there was a potential that they could, because everything up until that moment had been so good. I watched all of the final season of Castlevania in one sitting, and I was back in the UK at the time, and my roommate Dave came down and I was in tears because it's like very emotional. There was a lot going on. I was very sad just to say goodbye to the series and bye to the characters, and he came down and he was like, do you need anything? Are you okay? And I was like, no, it's just so good. I can't believe it. They've done it. Anyway, that's a ringing endorsement from me. And I'm so excited to see more of it because, damn, what a show. What a show.
Well, I'm in for the spinoff at the very least.
I don't like the name.
Nocturne.
No, I'm fine with the name. I think it's just one of those things where naming conventions is so important. Like Castlevania was so important to so many people on Netflix, they just simply called it Castlevania. So, I mean, I'm sure there's a Nocturne is an appropriate title, but
yeah,
it definitely made me go, wait, is it DLC? Is it a new season? Because that's my brain, my gamer brain.
Yeah.
Is it a movie? Is it a one-off movie? I don't know.
Castlevania Gaiden.
That actually sounds pretty cool. Hell
Actually, yeah. I mean,
It does
Netflix
sound
can have
pretty
that one.
sick.
Well, let's move on. Let's talk about some games that we've been playing. Let's get into the meat. New releases. One of the newest releases is Disney Illusion Island. Jirard, you've been playing this. I think we talked about it off like in real life, and the way you pitched it to me, I was like, oh, wait a minute, I want to play that. So, what is the elevator pitch?
Yeah, what is it?
Okay. Well, first off, the game is out today. So as you guys are listening to it, you can go buy it on your Nintendo Switch. It is a exclusive. It is a 4-player combatless Metroidvania.
Okay.
You play as Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Goofy, and you're on this island that is inhabited by these race of people called the Hoken, and they have a leader named Token, and Token is like,
Hoken?
hey, yes, exactly.
Do all of them rhyme?
No,
Damn.
well, that's the only one with a name.
Okay.
That's like any important. Essentially, Token is convinces everyone, all of our 4 friends of Disney, to come to the island for a picnic. He basically tricks them and says, hey, we need your help. There's these 3 tomes of knowledge that supply all of the source of our land and information, and they've been taken from us, and we need them back, and we need your help. And so immediately the 4 friends go, yo hope, and they do their thing. And so it's fascinating how fun this game was for me, despite there being any kind of actual violence or combat acquired, right? Like, you don't, the point of the game is to not attack every enemy next to you. Every enemy is an obstacle that you have to jump over. And so this game is all about momentum and returning to areas in which you've built and established with new skills. So the game starts, and a few moments later, you go from having just a jump to a double jump. And then eventually you get something like a hook shot that you swing around on the map. You can also swim underwater, or what's another mechanic? My brain's not working. I've been playing this game nonstop, so it's definitely on my mind, and my video should be out by the time this podcast is out. You can wall jump and wall climb, which is really fascinating. No, not climb, but like wall jump a la Mega Man X. So it's a lot of like sliding down walls in different areas. And the nice thing I like about it, because I did play the whole way through in multiplayer, is that it doesn't have that new Mario Brothers, Super Mario 3D World issue where if you are jumping and colliding with one another, you don't hurt each other. You're all on the same page. So you're running around, you know, if you hit each other, nothing happens. You just kind of walk through each other. And that's really great, because usually what happens in New Mario Brothers multiplayer is you're running, you run into each other, you grab someone, you accidentally throw them. It's kind of like that fun chaos. And then you realize that, oh, that's not nearly as fun. That's fun for like 5 minutes. Yeah. When you're playing old. It gets old really quickly. One of the, Lucy, you'll love this. One of the fun mechanics in the game is when you're playing in multiplayer, every player can ask for a hug. Oh. So Mickey will put his hands out and he's smiling. Minnie will do a cute one. Goofy's really is depressing. Oh. He's just like, can I get a hug? Like, it's really sad.
A cry for help.
And then Donald is like, I guess I'm asking for a hug. Oh, and when the characters hug, you get a temporary hit point.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's like Army of Two, but Disney. I love it.
But Disney.
Yeah.
I still have lingering resentment for Donald and Goofy after Kingdom Hearts. So I need to get back on the level.
Yeah. Collectibles are really fun. If you're a completionist, you're gonna like the game. It's really interesting. It's meant to play with friends. It feels like that way. One of the kick-ass things that I really enjoyed about it is when playing in a full group, you kind of like walk into the camera stays locked on player one, but when you go into certain rooms, it then kind of zooms out and the room has the camera, and you see all the collectibles and the enemies and the secrets all kind of in front of you. And by the time, like a couple hours into playing the game, my friends and I just understood what to do.
Yeah.
It was like a mad dash. Like I'd go up and collect things here. You know, my partner would go top left and do everything there. You know, my friend would go down underneath. And it's almost like all of you guys are just like, oh, it's a fever dream of collectathons. Like 3, 2, 1, break. We would never tell each other what we're doing. We're just going to go do the thing. And it just made it so fun because you're all just kind of trusting each other to do it.
How intense does it get? Is it like primarily for kids, or is it more like gamery?
It feels very much for kids, but the difficulty does amp up towards the end. But it's the kind of game that if you are getting better and better at using the new Metroidvania-esque mechanics you unlock, then you're going to scale with the game relatively quickly. I did 2 full playthroughs, and it took me 14 hours to complete the whole thing. And there's achievements in the game. They're called accomplishments because it's Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And they're all really fun. Like you're gonna have a good time with it. It's just the selling point is difficult just because it's like there's no combat and you hug people and but honestly that never once stopped me from enjoying it, especially me being a huge Disney guy. Like the collectibles, there's hidden Mickeys. You know,
that's cute.
Yeah, and every time you find a hidden Mickey, you take a selfie with the team. So it's like, and every selfie is a little bit different and wacky and fun. Most of them, Donald is depressed, and like the other 3 are like, "Hey, we're having a good time," which is always funny.
Why Donald and Goofy depressed?
Well, it's Donald is more like I hate it. Grouch. Goofy is the comedic relief the entire time. He's like the funniest written character. But except for when you asks for a hug, when he's just like, I just want a hug. It's very cute.
Gosh. Can I get a hug?
I highly recommend you play with friends. It's gonna make that much of a journey. It is local co-op only. But honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing, because have you tried playing a game online with Nintendo Switch? It's not the greatest. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. If you like platformers, you like Metroidvanias, you're gonna have a good time. It's very well written, very well performed, and the art style is from the modern
is it from those
Mickey
shorts
cartoons
they made, like those cool?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Really cute.
It's interesting, even just how. So I'm out of the loop with this stuff, but like you don't hear a lot from Mickey Mouse as like a thing. Like as my like I feel like when we were younger, it was like he was out there in the forefront. Now it's like Disney World and like some things here and there. So
they made him a king.
They made him a who?
A king in Kingdom Hearts. He's King Mickey.
But it's not like King Mickey presents Kingdom Hearts. There's like
because there was rules about how much they could use him for in at least the first Kingdom Hearts. Like Disney were very protective of him.
So protective, but they let him like just like wear a hoodie and be cool.
I mean, my favorite Kingdom Hearts moment of all time
is it when he's just standing there like that?
No, is in Kingdom Hearts 2 when you think Goofy's dead. And King Mickey like gets his fist and he goes, "They'll pay for this." It's like the one menacing moment that he has. But I agree, like Mickey's not. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not.
Like I know people our age and older will love to introduce their kids to it because of like the nostalgia and stuff. But like in the real cultural zeitgeist outside of being a Disney person, Mickey isn't like too much of a thing. So I feel like a Switch game is a cool move because a lot of kids have Switches. They're gonna see that and go, "Oh, who's that?"
I know
and then
that.
Dad will be like, "I'll tell you who the fuck that is. That's Mickey Mouse. God damn it, he was in Roger Rabbit."
The speaking of just like the nostalgia of Disney, one of my favorite things about the game is that there's a collectible that is called memorabilia.
Okay.
And
I'm amazed they didn't have you collecting pins. That's a big Disney move.
I know, right? The memorabilia, it's like usually 3 items that are categorized to be from a Disney short or from a Disney animated film.
Question.
So there's like,
are there hot dogs like that? Hot dog.
Hot dog. I think there might be a reference to that.
Okay, good.
But I don't know 100%. I mean, Goofy's ascend animation is him squirting a bottle of mustard. So
That's very good.
yeah, all of Goofy's things are food. Like everyone has like a fun gimmick. Like Goofy's whole bit is that all of his moves are food themed. Donald's is like he's the one that gets all the short end of the stick. So like all the stuff that he gets is like his flying animation is he holds 2 pairs of feathers to like help him elevate because his arms are too small.
So does it have a lot of that stuff? Because like I just love cartoons. I just love animation.
Yeah, it's very beautifully animated, and the game doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very fun. But the memorabilia stuff is so interesting, right? Like you'll see like something from a modern day Disney short that came out a couple of years ago, and then it's like, oh, this is from the Disney Christmas special where like this particular snow globe or this particular hat that you just found, or like Steamboat Willie, right? Like these different moments throughout Disney history. So if you're a Disney nut and you like those things, like it feels good to kind of look and see those collectibles, and all the little excerpts are really well written too. So it's super fun. I feel like it is designed for kids by default, but if you are a Disney adult, which here in California many people are, they we all have annual passes, and when we have friends fly in from out of state who want to go to Disney, we all go to Disney together. So it definitely feels like a love letter to Mickey and Friends, which is really great. It's super fun.
I'm in. That initial pitch of Metroidvania without combat, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Something different.
Definitely subverts your expectations for sure.
It was not on my radar, so thank you for putting it on mine.
Yeah.
Next up, Lucy, Street Fighter 6. You were jumping into this completely
Let's go.
A new player. And you're starting to hone your skills. You're being trained by Tam. So like,
I know.
how's it been going?
So we're doing some a video at work where it's basically like, is it too late to play? Is it too late to get into fighting games? Is it too late to get into Street Fighter? And I have always been, I can appreciate fighting games. I've just never really been exposed to them the way, and I've never experienced them the way that they're supposed to be played. So my only experience with fighting games, genuinely, I can rattle it off now. Playing a Tekken with my friend Beth when we were kids one summer. I went to a Street Fight. What's a Soul Calibur launch party? I went to a Street Fighter party.
Hell yeah.
And Tam taught me how to do a Hadouken a few weeks ago because we have an arcade cabinet and we were playing the 6 beta. And then
that's it? That's all you had?
That's genuinely it. So
what
like
about Masters
anytime.
of Terrace Kazi? No?
I don't even know what that is, man.
Okay, that's fine. Let's move on.
I'm just like, what? And so yeah, every time, like if I've ever picked up a fighting game, a Tekken or a Mortal Kombat or even a Street Fighter, just like because someone's been playing it around me, I will just button mash and then get annoyed with myself because I'm not winning or I don't understand what I'm doing. I don't know what the buttons are. So this video is like a real back to basics about getting into fighting games, and Tam is being coached by Justin Wong himself at the moment. Like Capcom's doing a bunch of streams and Tam is going on like once a month, and Justin's been kind of coaching Tam. And so it's wild to have someone like Tam who is so just understands fighting games, knows how they work, can pull off combos, but also crucially for me can explain them and why things are the way they are, the way that things link up together to do combos and moves. And so I've been doing that today, and it's been really fun. This little sort of, I get the rush that people get now where they execute things properly. I was doing is it Shoryuken? Shoryuken.
Forward, quarter circle, forward, punch.
Yes. Or as I say in my head, because I'm using a fighting stick, Z punch. I'm doing
that's what the animation looks like.
Yeah. So,
if you look at it in the it looks like a Z.
Yeah. So that's what I've been saying in my head to get it done. And then the other thing we've been doing is kind of just like we started doing the sort of training mode from the very beginning and just like making sure that I can link stuff. But I'm so surprised with how fast you have to do everything. That's been my my point of contention where I'm just like, ugh. gotta make sure I gotta do it really quickly. And so we've been shooting this video, and I think Tam has, bless him, has had to say the phrase "the same but faster." Like, do the same but faster, do the same but faster, because I'm getting it down. And then when you actually execute, like, it felt really good to walk away from the cabinet, go get a drink or something, and then come back and just fire it off and be like, okay, yeah, building that muscle memory. So it's been really fun. I don't know how, I don't know what's next, because I feel like I'm obviously in this great position where I have someone actively teaching me, and, you know, I have a goal in mind. I don't know if I step away from this, I'm just going to finish the training mode or whatever, or finish, I mean, the worldwide tour mode is meant to be like the thing that you can do and just have fun with. So I might do that. I really like the vibe.
World tour mode will let you, in my opinion, it kind of teaches you the different characters.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you mentor them, you learn. I loved world tour mode. I thought it was a little long. It's very, it's a bit long.
10 hours-ish?
It's a bit longer than 10 hours.
Okay. Well,
it depends, because it kind of it's almost like
well, good job there's no games coming out.
Yeah, no games at all.
We're both
No
just shit up
games.
pants.
It's only Street Fighter 6 for the rest of the year, right, everyone? Just Street Fighter 6.
Sure. If you need to believe, if you need us to say that, so you can have a moment of just, you know, forgetting. We can do that for you.
Well, Lucy, if you have any interest to play Street Fighter 6, I will gladly spar and teach you how to play the game. A long time ago, I did a series called The Dojo with my friend Brett and Santel. And I've known the fundamentals of fighting games for a long time, but the point of the show was for 6 months, Brett would train me Street Fighter 5, and then we would go to Evo, and I would participate.
Yeah.
And I did win a set, but I lost my next set. So it was very interesting to kind of have that energy and vibe in the room. But yeah, I could definitely sit down with you and teach you some of the basics if you'd like.
Yeah, Evo
Jirard's
2024.
Yeah,
Jirard's Dojo.
Wow. I mean,
Your
my
Mojo
two
Dojo, Casa House. What was it?
Yeah.
Mojo
Yeah,
Dojo Casa House. My two bearded guides, you and Tam.
Yeah, if Tam's your Ryu and I'll be your Zangief.
Yes. Now I know who that is. Oh, I knew Ryu, but
Zangief's the big dude, the big beard man. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
Is M. Bison? Who's the green guy?
Blanca.
That's the one. I couldn't remember his name earlier. I'm sorry. Blanca. Stan.
It's okay. He won't be mad at you. It's okay.
Well, along with that, I've been playing Remnant 2. I put out a
How
video
is
on
that?
Game Ranks and first impressions. It's cool. I didn't play a lot of the first one, but I had a friend who played a lot of it, so I heard a lot about it. So I was excited to just go into this one, and it's pretty much what I expected. It's like the original, but it just seems like there's way more to it. And a lot of people kind of describe it as Dark Souls with guns.
Yeah,
But-
so I've never played it. I don't even think I've seen any videos of it. So the only thing I am going off is people saying, "Oh, it's Dark Souls with guns." What is
I
the
don't
actual?
think that kind of. I think that's not a good. Like,
Okay.
I guess technically, yeah, but to me, it's more of just like a co-op third-person looter shooter, but
Okay.
with really cool vibes. It's challenging,
Mhm.
and a lot of it is randomly generated. So
Okay.
you're experiencing. So if you're not playing cooperatively and you just have another friend playing, like
Mhm.
they're gonna come upon things or just have completely different biomes and levels that you're not. You're like, what? You're in a spaceship? I'm in the woods right now. What? That's crazy. And then like enemy encounters and even like sub-story beats and stuff are gonna pop up at different times, which is pretty cool. And that helps encourage, replayability. Like the first game was kind of like a sleeper hit, and people were obsessed with it because it was like you played it a bunch. It was always a little different, and then you could roll a new character and jump back in again, and things would still be different again, and you could build up a whole different character class. So it's good for that. And what helps is that the shooting is good. The shooting is tight. It's very good, snappy third-person shooting, which I tend to like. I like third-person shooters, but like, you got like repeater weapons, sniper rifles, shotguns, pistols and a dodge roll, and then some special abilities. So it's pretty video game. It's pretty straightforward, but there's just something about it that is extra cool. I don't know if it's like the boss and enemy designs. It's not really the story for me, but it's just everything else. And now you just have way more you can do compared to the last game. There's way more ways to build out your character in terms of like the RPG aspect of it, like your stats, your perks. You basically become this like perk stacked monster where you just keep acquiring and adding perks. And then you're also equipping a bunch more gear that also has all these crazy, wildly different perks. So you're kind of just being built up to being this like crazy, weird hybrid character, because eventually you're doing 2 specializations at once, kind of like a hybrid. So there's a lot to it, and there's a lot to like sink your teeth into, where it's a straightforward third person rootin' tootin' shooting with a friend, but the character build stuff is really cool.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it now.
I'm getting a lot of like I understand the Dark Souls comparison, but I think the way that the combat even looks and the animation reminds me a lot of like Gears of War, where it has like this kind of like dodging and
it's Gears of War with no cover, basically.
Yeah, but I will say the Dark Souls part is very evident when you see the enemies approach you.
Yeah, I was gonna say
just
some
have this like
character
manic
design.
like they're definitely gonna come at you,
and it's challenging.
You have to react.
Like you can even I played as the heavier class for most of it, like the tank. You can still die pretty quickly, so that's, you got to like really be on your toes. And then of course like some very formidable, over the top bosses that just kind of make you go, oh shit, you know.
Yeah, weird how people just, if things have some of the hallmarks of a Souls game, it's like it just automatically gets slapped with that label.
Yeah,
even if it is completely different.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like the conversation gets so muddled because I think it is now at this point a significant and important subgenre, but it's a phrase that gets thrown around a lot, and then people just kind of like meme it. And in this instance, like Dark Souls with guns, like I think that's a good way to like just get people interested in it, because like it's not a hard sell, but it's like a lot of words that you've heard before in other games, so it's a good way to get people in the door. But I think it's more than Dark Souls with guns. It's just a cool, well thought out third person shooter co-op looty thing, which isn't even typically a type of game I'm drawn to, but here it definitely worked, and it seems like the community is digging it. I know there's been some PC performance issues, but now that it's out and people have been kind of playing through it, I'm hoping to see it have the legs that the original game had, because for a while people were playing it and they supported it with a bunch of stuff. It's like really big on Steam, great reviews and stuff. So I hope this one kind of is the same thing.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I think I have code for it. Or is it on Game Pass? I have code for it, I think. I'm just going to play. We'll squad up.
I would be down. I'm a fan of sticking with the squad that would,
if like someone knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Can lead us
through. Yeah, I'll tell you guys what to shoot. Be like, shoot that thing.
Shoot that guy.
Aim down sights. No, but it's cool, and I think it is definitely worth checking out. Even if you didn't play the first one, that's the biggest thing I wanted to get across. It's like it's not like a sequel. I mean, like it is a sequel, but it's not like the story doesn't like matter that much. It's a gameplay game, so you can just jump into this and see why people fell in love with the loop and the whole concept from the first one.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm in. Let's play it.
But along with that, we have Exoprimal, which I have not played. Have you guys played that?
No, I have not.
Well, it has surpassed 1 million players on Game Pass, apparently. So that's actually, I didn't totally expect that, because reviews dropped, and it was just kind of like, I don't know, I didn't really see reviews blow the doors down or anything. But I remember Ralph talking about it on the podcast, and he made it sound pretty interesting. So I'm still probably going to try and give it a shot at some point.
Yeah. Oh God, so I did a YouTube search for Exoprimal, and the first video is like this this picture of one of the characters with like massive tits, and the title is Exoprimal, just got a lot bigger, and I'm like, they
Oh
know.
my gosh.
You see the one I've seen?
Well,
I'm just like,
okay,
Okay, they know what they're doing.
to be
They
fair, that person uses that same image on all their thumbnails. So
damn.
it's
Well,
not just
got
a
my
one-off.
attention.
You're not talking
watching
about
it.
before you buy, are you? I didn't do that one.
No, the before you
No.
buy is right underneath that.
Of course.
And it looks like, okay, look, if you want to have a fun little experiment, type it into YouTube, everyone, and then just look as the dinosaur is mouth opening, trying to consume the booba
Oh, is that what
Of the
that
thumbnail.
is?
of the thumbnail above it.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that is. Yeah. Oh, that was very good.
All right, so Exoprimal, we haven't played it. Just thought it was worth bringing up for a second.
Yeah.
Also,
It's one of the big releases.
I forgot to mention one thing with Remnant 2. Starts a little rough. You might find it a little boring, a little grindy in the beginning, but just give it some time. I know you've probably heard that about a million games, but I definitely wanted to share that about this one.
How long would you give it? What's the couple hours?
2 to 4
That's
hours,
fine.
maybe. Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, Persona 5 is one of my favorite games of all time. And you have to say to people, okay, the first 10 hours are really slow. But after that, it's an all-timer.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't have the same effect, Lucy. I was plugged in from the beginning.
Oh, no, like vibe-wise, because I was familiar with Persona, I was like, I know this is all set up. This is going to be hand-holdy. But, trying to explain to people who are not necessarily as familiar, I was like,
Yeah.
please just get past this palace and then you're good. Just,
Yeah.
And then you've got another 100 hours.
Love it for completion. It's definitely
No.
No.
No. I'm okay playing shorter games. I like big games too, but I also like breathing. I like going for walks and playing with my dogs.
Yeah.
Speaking of playing with dogs, let's take a question from some users. That was a bad segue. That doesn't make any sense.
No, hold on.
Speaking
hold
of
on.
dogs.
Hold on. So, where is the dog in this? Are the users the dog?
No.
No.
I just did a Hail Mary hoping the question would involve
Wait.
dogs because I haven't read the question.
Are the
I
users
was
the
wrong.
dogs,
The
Like,
homies.
yeah, the
Oh,
homies.
like
Speaking
like
of the
dogs.
dogs,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Diamond
Yes.
Dogs, Metal Gear, go.
Yeah. Or Ted Lasso. Terrible.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you ever want to send us questions, we have a handy dandy email for that. It is
contact@friendspersecond.com.
Thank you, users, for this question. This comes from Kat and Chris. They say, so many beloved studios have released poorly received titles over the last decade, say BioWare's Anthem, Cyberpunk at launch, Arcane's Redfall. Why do we focus on studios missing instead of individual directors or contributors? We don't go to the movies hoping to watch the latest production from Lionsgate or Warner Brothers. We hope to watch the latest movie from Wes Anderson or Martin Scorsese. Should we change the way we think about game production and creative involvement? That's an interesting question because both things take massive amounts of people to accomplish a vision.
Yes.
Oftentimes, they're both led by a director with a vision.
I think as well, though, you talk about studios. I think within the context of the question, I would say you do kind of talk about Marvel and DC the same way, right? Like it's
Or
more
A24.
about the
I got a new A24 banger coming out.
where it's like it's more about the studio because it's more about maybe the franchise or whatever that it's tied to. I think with video games in particular, hang on, I'm trying to think about how to phrase this. Studios are so big, hundreds of people work on everything. It's also very rare, I guess, where you get a game developer who is exalted to the Kojima, the Ken Levines, like the Luke Smiths or Brian Interhars or whoever, where they are like a name that you can just pull, right? Because it's a Ubisoft game. It's the latest from Arcane. And I wonder if that's as well because turnover, the people working on the new Mass Effect is not the same team. It's like a ship of Theseus BioWare now. It's like, it's, you know, it is BioWare in name, but it's not the original BioWare team who are working on the new Mass Effect. Like Casey Hudson's gone and Mac Walters is gone, but you know, there is a couple people who definitely worked on the originals. And so maybe that's why it's just like, it's a turnover thing. It is a staffing thing in terms of the fact that games take so many people to make. And, you know, it's not as easy as saying, you know, if you think about how a director of a movie has the overall creative vision, that still has to go down to different people, like director of photography, to make it look good. And in terms of video games, there are all of these different departments: UI, lighting, game design. So the thing that you might actually love about a game is, yes, the original creative element might have come from a creative director, but it's implemented by a different person. And so maybe it is just easier to say CD Projekt Red. Whereas, yeah, I think as well, part of it is the fact that video game development is deliberately obfuscated. And people don't necessarily know that that person is responsible for that thing. And so that's a very good question. And I think there's a lot of answers.
I think the other perspective could be, and it's not like union busting by any means, because there obviously, you know, there should be video game unions as they've been popping up the last couple of years. But I also think that the studios are possibly fearful of giving the ball to the auteur in the room that is the project, right? Like, you saw what happened with Kojima and Konami, right? Like, that you saw that and you were like, maybe that wasn't the right idea for either party in that instance, just of how it all kind of panned out. All of us were like, Kojima can do no wrong. We'd love to see another Metal Gear, so on and so forth. The minute he was gone from Konami, they were like, hey, remember Metal Gear? Kojima, it's not a Hideo Kojima game anymore. Like, that was a purposeful thing. And on the other side of the coin, you've got the Toby Foxes of the world, the one man, and you know, the Dan Salvatos of the world. These guys, these creative visionary people who are one person trying to with the team of obviously a few, trying to intrinsically build a creative vision from the ground up, because they are the vision, right? You know, it's, if you are gonna creatively direct something, like, it has to be done. The person, it's almost like if you're doing a school project with someone and someone in the group is like, hey, I have the idea, the vision, the execution, but I can't execute everything. That person's going to take on majority of the responsibility themselves. And at that point, the person in the group is probably the person who you want to be doing it, because they're the ones that have that creative force. It works in some instances, right? But when you have massive teams of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people working on a single game, that's way more complicated. And I think I wouldn't even know where to start if working at somewhere like Santa Monica Studio, where they all have to work on this singular vision of what Ragnarok is. And it's crazy. And I think as the game industry evolves, you kind of talked about it earlier, Lucy, it's a revolving door. A lot of people are tired of working on one title for 4 or 5 years, right? Production babies, you know, films take 9 months, traditionally speaking, whether, you know, estimation wise. Games take 4 times that. You know, it's a different beast altogether. You have to really believe the person in charge who is at the helm to make it work. And I think that's hard to just kind of, you can't just like throw a dart at someone and go like, and now you're in charge, right? There's a level of pedigree and respect kind of attached to it. What are your thoughts, Jake?
I also just think it's very like case by case and in flux. There's so much to consider, where it's like, which publisher, which movie studio, the industries are different. I agree with you guys, but it's also too like the level of paying attention, if you will, you know, like some people could really like love movies and know more and be like, oh man, Roger Deakins did the DP of this one, but I didn't like the way it looked. What was he thinking? Like, or like, oh,
No one would ever say that about Roger
no one would
Deakins.
ever,
Oh,
yeah,
come on.
no one would ever say that. Or like, you know, video game side, like some of the more in deep like news narratives be, oh, Jason DeHarris is leading the combat. Cool. Like,
Yeah.
there's levels to it, you know?
I also think as well, in terms of, so there's two other things that came to mind with this. One, when it's a studio, you get even early when we talked about Remnant, right? It's Dark Souls with guns. There is an association that is made there purely because the fact you mentioned Dark Souls. With studios, it's from the team who brought you The Witcher 3. That immediately sets up an expectation, right? And so with game developers, because as we said, like folks move around a lot, it's from the people who brought you Call of Duty and XYZ and any other franchise. It kind of creates an expectation rather than being, oh, just this one person did it. If you bring in more people, you get to put more kind of unconscious attachments to the title or whatever it is you're working on. But the other reason I wonder, and I would like to think this is to minimize fallout, but look at the way game developers are treated on Twitter. Do you think as well that it's more of a team effort to lessen the blow? I don't think it's been deliberately thought through that way, but I don't know. That's something that I guess movie directors do have to deal with, but also they are less online. Like Christopher Nolan's not on Twitter, is he? Or X,
God bless
whatever the hell, you know? Martin Scorsese's definitely not. Wes Anderson, you know, they live in and exist in a different world, whereas video games are so intrinsically linked with the concept of being online because for a long time, that is how video game players found each other, was like cultivating online communities. That is just a part of being in gaming, and maybe if you detach a name or a figurehead from something, you could lessen the brunt of the internet's ire. But I think that is wishful thinking on my part. I don't think anyone does that deliberately. I think it's just more control messaging. It is the studio. That's where the money comes from. Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, movies, video games, they're all greenlit by like a money man, corporate executive at the top, all coked up, you know? I just wish maybe they'd make like the old Hollywood type producers do more video, like Robert Evans, like being like, let's make a movie, let's make a picture, but do it with video games.
I'm going to make you a star, kid.
Excellent question, though. Thank you very much, Kat and Chris, for that. Like we said, contact@friendspersecond.com if you want to submit a user question. Did I get the contact right?
You did.
Okay. Okay, good. Well, Jirard, kick us into our next segment.
This day in gaming, or as we call it this week in the way back, this is celebrating games within this week, anniversaries to make us all feel old or feel young, depending on who you are. Lucy, let us start with you.
2010. It was a simpler time. It was a better time. And a little game called Limbo came out, which just, man, deceptively, I mean, actually, it's not deceptively simple. It is simple to control and navigate and just go from left of screen to right of screen. But I don't remember feeling or playing a game that had such a feeling, a presence, an oppressive atmosphere as Limbo. Incredible pared back sound design. Like every single thing in that game felt so purposeful. And that came out 13 years ago. It's out on, you can play it on iPhone now. It's out everywhere. And it's still remembered so fondly just because it was so different and it's so creepy and weird, and the giant spider guy. Oh God. Anyway. And also, if you haven't played Inside, you owe it to yourself to play Inside. It is fantastic. But Limbo, what a game. What a game. 13 years ago.
Jake.
Too long ago. For me, it is the original Max Payne, 22 whopping years ago. 2001, the game that I wouldn't say changed everything for me, but it was like the second thing, really. It was like the final nail in the coffin. It was Metal Gear Solid and then Max Payne. For me, as a movie lover, I was in heaven. At this point, I don't even know what there is to say about Max Payne. For me, it always comes back to James motherfucking McCaffrey. The voice acting, absolutely incredible. The way he chews those lines, the way the whole thing is presented in this noir style, there's nothing like it. There's no other video game like this, from presentation to vibe and atmosphere. A blizzard-ridden, lonely, quiet New York City, a loose cannon cop on the edge, of course. But there's so much around it that makes it weirder and special. And of course, that's the Remedy and Sam Lake touch. And it just, I really think that it and I worry about them like remaking it. Like, it's going to be so hard.
I was
going to
ask you how you
magic.
feel about that.
Yeah, I'm down that like they're doing it, you know? I think they still probably definitely understand what they made. But it's hard. It's going to be hard to because like the original Max Payne was also a little creepy, a little unsettling, as much as it was awesome and badass. And I think that's a hard tightrope to walk. But I feel really strongly about like the weird nightmare sequences. Keep them, as messed up and tedious and weird and annoying as they were so mentally draining. It was perfect. It's such like a oddly cerebral game, considering what it is. And even when it was 2001, so I was like, what, 12? I was like a 13-year-old kid. And I didn't even I couldn't even understand a lot of concepts that, the game was trying to, and I still was like, oh, there's something different about this one. This is more than just cool guy third person shooter. And I think for that to come across to a 13-year-old is pretty good. Like all the meta stuff, Lords and Ladies, the TV show, it's just so special top to, and I've been in love with Remedy ever since. And like, I know I kiss Remedy's ass a little bit, but like, I can't help it.
It's a good game. It's a good game. It's one of my favorites, honestly. I was gonna pick Max Payne, but that's okay because my game I'm gonna pick is gonna make all of you feel incredibly old. Are you ready for this one?
Let's do it.
Oh,
here we go, everyone. July 20th, 1983. Can I get a guess from anyone?
83.
83.
Okay, well, this is not the one you have written down, so I was like, 2004 was okay.
I changed it. Yeah. 40 years ago, on July 20th, the original Mario Brothers in the arcade.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
The one screen game where Mario and Luigi are attacking each other with the shells and the crabs and such. The original Mario Brothers, because people think that is the original Mario Brothers is, that's not the original.
Yeah.
The original is this arcade game called Mario Bros, starring Mario, Luigi, and a bunch of Koopas and crabs. 40 years ago, everyone.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Bones. Yes.
Does that game suck? Like, I don't like that game.
It's meant to be a
simple arcade thing.
Simple arcade game. The progression is nonsensical.
Yeah.
There's no narrative. You're trying to get the other player to mess up and mistime a jump and get hit by a Koopa shell or run into an enemy that's on its back. Like it's a versus game. It's not meant to have a lot of depth to it.
Just give us your quarters.
Yeah.
Give us all your money.
It's up to this is per the description. It's up to you to kick, punch, and knock out these sewer pests before time runs out. But beware, just when you think you got rid of all of them, they come back for more.
Oh god.
That's it? That's all the
Give us all your quarters.
It wasn't even like be two brothers on a quest to clean the pipes.
I skipped ahead.
Okay.
Mario and Luigi are doing some underground plumbing when all sorts of weird creatures come flying out of the pipes. Turtles, crabs, and even fireflies attack the helpless Mario Bros.
All right.
Do crabs go in pipes? I don't think
they do in New York apparently.
Watch yourself. You haven't got any serial killers, but the crabs are back.
1983 New York. You don't know where those crabs are at, my dude.
Well,
it's a different time.
It could have been Teenage Mutant Ninja Crabs, if only. It would have been delicious.
that is this week in the way back. Back to you, Jake.
Well, if you think about it, Shredder's always like, oh, turtle soup. I'm going to have turtle soup. Crab soup is way more delicious. He'd have like a crab bisque.
Ooh,
Yep.
I love
Anyway,
bisque.
that's it for my bits. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been an episode of the Friends Per Second podcast. We are here every other week. We're here on video. We're here on all your favorite podcast platforms. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us. We really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed that interview we had. Shout out to Sven for hanging out with us. Really appreciate that. That about wraps it up, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys got going on?
Immortality audio logs is up on Gamespot. So we had this awesome chat with Sam Barlow. I feel so bad because it was a 2-hour-long thing. And we cut it down to 15 minutes because of brutal. And it's so I want to put it up as a podcast because there was so much cool stuff that he talked about. But very proud of the team for putting that all together. Chris and Richard in the edit, absolute wizards. So I want to give them a shout out. And other than that, getting ready to go to Gamescom and then PAX, which will be very exciting. Can't wait to see Jirard there. I'm doing a bunch of stuff. You know me, always beavering away. And I'm on Twitter, X.
I'm on X.
I'm on X, guys.
I'm on X.
I'm on X.
I'm on X.
As at Lucy James Games. And I'm on Threads and Blue Sky and literally everywhere, the same username. Blech. Anyway.
Blech. My video on I'm gonna say Castle of Illusion, that's the original. My video on Disney Illusion Island is out right now, so if you want to go watch it, if you don't want to buy it, you can watch my video. I guess mine's like not before you buy, but like you don't want to buy, but you want to watch it anyways. I guess that's the vibe of my stuff.
By it.
Intrigued to look at it. You can watch my video. Also, if you are in PAX West this upcoming September, I'm doing my one-man comedy show, The Completionist Legacy, with Cat Icarus, the YouTuber, as my opening act. September 1st. Tickets are available right now. Tickets are only $30. They're more expensive if you buy them at the door. But if you're in Seattle, come on by. And for those of you who are in the UK, I am doing a one-time only performance in London, September 24th at Dingwalls, which is a pretty like iconic music venue, I've heard.
What's that? Where is that in London?
Dingwalls? Dingwalls?
Dingwalls. Oh, yes.
It's a very famous, famous. Yes, in Camden.
Yes, I have been here. Holy shit, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, so if you're in London, come on by. I never go to London. I'm never there for anything. So please come on by. And again, tickets are pretty cheap. I'm just a guy talking. I'm telling stories, doing comedy. It's a fun old time. What about you, Jake? What do you got going on?
Me, I'm just, doing my thing, putting out videos on Game Ranks during the day, on my YouTube channel at night. I'm getting back into the swing of things on my channel because I've been moving. So I got some cool ideas I'm excited to tell you guys about off camera that I will be putting on the channel over the next month or so, as well as actually maybe having a normal backdrop because I'm moving in. I'm building out like a cool little home office. I'm going to try and make it look like a haunted mansion. It's going to be spooky. Ooh. I can't wait. But we'll see if that even comes to fruition. Expectations versus reality. It could look like shit. But I've never decorated a room before, so we'll see what happens. But that's it. That's it for us. You can find the Friends Per Second podcast on all your favorite social media platforms. And we got a Clips channel on YouTube. It's just the name of the podcast if you want to check that out. But that's it. Tie your shoes and go to bed.